the worlds of the heavens starting with Game of Thrones. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Apprenticeship. Aunt Wang took Xia Changqing around the yard and said in a nagging voice, "In the afternoon, I will find someone to clean the yard for you. I have also bought new bedding for this house. It's so late, you should go to bed quickly." Aunt Wang, thank you for your hard work. I will show my filial piety to you in the future. Xia Changqing always had a faint smile on his face. He enjoyed such tenderness very much. Under such circumstances, Xia Changqing was even more disgusted with the intrigue of Changhang escort agency. After seeing Aunt Wang off, Xia Changqing returned to the house. Even in the dark, he could still see everything in the house clearly. Aunt Wang did not deceive him. All the bedding in the house was brand new, and there was a faint smell of sunshine on it. However, Xia Changqing was no longer at the stage of needing to sleep to rest. He sat cross-legged on the bed, closed his eyes, and adjusted his breathing. While his internal force was running, he had already entered into cultivation. No words were spoken that night. At daybreak, Xia Changqing had already woken up from his meditation. He got out of bed, washed, and then stood under the jujube tree in the yard. He unfolded his body and slowly performed a set of basic boxing techniques. His fists were soft, a bit like the take-eye that the old men and women in the parks of later generations practiced. No one would think that such boxing techniques would be lethal. But Xiao Wu still opened his bright eyes and stared at Xia Changqing without blinking. That's right, Xia Changqing did not lock the door. After Aunt Wang left last night, Xia Changqing did not lock the door, so this morning, Xiao Wu was able to push the door directly and saw Xia Changqing practicing boxing. After Xia Changqing finished a set of boxing and slowly took a breath, Xiao Wu couldn't wait to come up. "Brother Xia, can I practice martial arts with you?" Xia Changqing looked down at Xiao Wu's expectant eyes and was a little dazed for a moment. After a long time, when Xiao Wu thought that Xia Changqing was unwilling and lowered his head in frustration, he heard Xia Changqing say lightly, "Okay, really?" Xiao Wu raised his head quickly and his eyes flashed with excitement again. "Brother Xia, do I need to worship you as my master?" This made Xiao Wu a little at a loss. He was startled and thought of the things he had heard about in the martial arts world before. He bent his legs and was about to kneel down to Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing stopped him in time. He waved his arm and made Xiao Wu unable to kneel down. "I have no intention of accepting you as my apprentice. You don't have to call me master. Just call me Brother Xia. There are some things I need to tell you in advance. If you want to learn some exquisite martial arts from me, then I advise you to give up this idea. In fact, I don't know any exquisite swordsmanship. What I can teach you is how to make your sword faster." Xia Changqing looked at Xiao Wu calmly. "So, are you still willing to learn martial arts from me?" "I'm willing. Brother Xia, I'm willing. Please teach me martial arts." Xiao Wu answered without any hesitation. At Xiao Wu's age, he is no longer naive. For him, Xia Changqing's ability to teach him martial arts is a chance that falls from the sky. If he misses this opportunity, he will definitely regret it for the rest of his life. "Okay, since you are willing, from now on, I will strictly require you. If you can't bear the hardship, tell me in advance. Even if you give up, it's nothing. Brother Xia, I will not give up, and I will never give up even if I die." Xiao Wu shouted with his neck stiff. It's meaningless to just shout slogans. Whether you can stick to it depends on your actual actions. Xia Changqing said lightly, then he spread his legs and sank his body into a horse stance. "Follow me." The first step to practicing martial arts is to lay a solid foundation. Xiao Wu imitated Xia Changqing and took a horse stance. Xia Changqing stood beside Xiao Wu again and corrected some of his mistakes. Horse stance is not an easy thing, especially for beginners. Moreover, Xiao Wu was born in poverty and looked strong on the outside, but if you take off his clothes, you can see his skinny inside. But Xiao Wu's spirit is very tenacious. As he said, he would stick to it even if he died. After half an hour, Xiao Wu was already sweating profusely, but he still gritted his teeth and persisted. Okay, that's it for today, Xia Changqing said lightly. He was satisfied with Xiao Wu's persistence. However, he still understood the principle that too much is as bad as too little. There is still a long way to go, so there is no need to torture Xiao Wu to death. Next, learn to breathe with me. Xia Changqing demonstrated and explained a breathing method. As Xiao Wu changed his breathing rhythm, his sweating state quickly calmed down, and the whole person returned to a calm state. You also need to pay attention to this breathing method in daily life, and develop a new breathing habit. No problem, big brother, Xiao Wu shouted excitedly. He has tasted the benefits of this breathing method. Through this breathing method, his originally sore muscles are slowly recovering, so that he is not so painful. Okay, pack up, I will treat you to breakfast. Big brother, you are so good to me. Well, you taught me martial arts, I should treat you to dinner. Xia Changqing laughed. He looked at Xiao Wu mischievously. You treat me to dinner, do you have money? Ah, I don't have money. Speaking of money, Xiao Wu was directly dejected and said a little frustrated. He didn't even have the courage to look at Xia Changqing. Okay. Xia Changqing touched Xiao Wu's head. Man, why are you so depressed? Although you don't have money now, as long as you practice hard, you will make a lot of money in the future. Yes, brother, I will definitely make a lot of money to repay you in the future. Xiao Wu regained his spirit and said with full energy. After taking Xiao Wu out and enjoying a breakfast nearby, Xia Changqing asked Xiao Wu to go home by himself and practice horse stance more when he was free, but not too much. Then Xia Changqing walked alone towards the Changhang escort agency. When Xia Changqing arrived at the escort agency, Feng Escort had been waiting for him for a long time. Changqing, you are here. The chief escort asked me to teach you some more experience in escorting. So let's get started. Feng Escort said enthusiastically and smiled. Feng Escort, then I'll leave it to you. This kid is new to this business and needs your guidance. Chapter 202 Experience. Captain Feng, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Let's get started, Xia Changqing said modestly. After all, Captain Feng was a senior of Changhang Escort Agency. It would not hurt for him to be modest. It's okay, it's okay. I didn't wait long. It's just that I live closer to the escort agency, so I came a little earlier. Captain Feng said with a smile, without any anger. Xia Changqing knew that this was Captain Feng deliberately trying to show his goodwill to him, but this kind of close attitude made him feel a little embarrassed. Changqing, I wonder how much you know about our Changhang escort agency? The training of Xia Changqing officially began. Captain Feng did not take a serious attitude. He just started chatting with Xia Changqing in a casual manner. I don't know much about it. I only know that Changhang Escort Agency, as one of the three major forces in Luoyang City, was established by the chief escort. That's right. Escort Feng nodded and praised. This is also why I admire the chief escort very much. Starting from scratch, in this huge Luoyang City, to become a powerful force, the difficulties involved. Even if I don't tell you, you should understand. Xia Changqing nodded in understanding. He naturally understood the difficulties of starting from scratch, but as long as people have the ability, they will not be afraid of these difficulties. Changqing, I tell you this, there is no other meaning, but I want to tell you that, if you concentrate on working in the escort agency, and follow the chief escort wholeheartedly, the future will be promising. This kind of chicken soup like words are already difficult to move Xia Changqing's heart, but in the expectant eyes of escort Feng, he still nodded. This made Feng Biaotao smile with satisfaction. He stroked his beard and said, you have just joined the escort agency, and the chief escort has entrusted you with an important task. He has very high expectations for you. You must not disappoint him. Feng Biaotao, don't worry, I will never let you down. Xia Changqing clasped his fists, which made Feng Biaotao even happier. In the following time, Feng Biaotao explained to Xia Changqing in detail about the things he needed to pay attention to when traveling. Various industry jargons also opened Xia Changqing's eyes and made the boring training life interesting. A day passed in a flash. Changqing, it's okay for you to go back so early. Why don't you come to our place and sit for a while? I'll ask your aunt to cook 2 side dishes, and we can have a drink together. Feng Biaotao invited him warmly. For a newcomer in the escort agency like Xia Changqing, it is right to seize the time to make friends, so Feng Biaotao would directly address him as his son and nephew. In fact, with Feng Biaotao's status in Changhang escort agency, other people have no way to curry favor with him. Walking on the street, anyone who knows Feng Biaotao can't help but call him Master Feng or Master Feng. So Feng Biaotao's current attitude towards Xia Changqing has given him enough face. Xia Changqing is not a person who doesn't know what's good for him. He has just joined the escort agency and has a good impression of Feng Biaotao. It's okay for him to agree. No problem, Feng Biaotao. Then I won't be polite, but I have to pay for the wine. You are a kid, you just joined the escort agency, and you haven't even received your monthly salary for a while. Where can you get the money to buy wine? If you say it's my treat, then it's my treat. If you feel bad, wait until you get your monthly salary, then you can treat me out for a drink. Feng Biaotao made a good calculation. After this back and forth, he and Xia Changqing will have at least 2 drinks. Then it would be disrespectful to refuse. Xia Changqing no longer refused. If he wanted to live a more comfortable life in Changhang escort agency, it was very necessary to establish a good relationship with one of the leaders. Of course, he could also establish his own leader and become another force in Changhang escort agency. But Xia Changqing was too lazy to do so. As the saying goes, if he had the time, he could practice more and sleep more. Wouldn't it be better? Seeing that Xia Changqing did not refuse, Feng Biaotao pulled him out of the door of the escort agency. This scene was also seen by those who were interested. In a short time, the news was passed to the other 2 escort leaders. Xia Changqing did not care about the reactions of the other 2, because something unexpected had happened. Captain Shi, why are you here? Is there anything I can do for you? After Feng Biaotao pulled Xia Changqing out of the door, he immediately found Shi Gang, who came to meet him. He did not know what happened last night, and he did not expect that Xia Changqing and Shi Gang would have a dispute in such a short time. So at first, Feng Biaotao was also very confused, thinking that Shi Gang came to ask for something. Feng Biaotao, long time no see. Shi Gang smiled heartily. As a senior figure in one of the 3 major forces in Luoyang City, Feng Biaotao was naturally very familiar with the people in the government. After all, it is very necessary for a martial arts sect like Changhang escort agency to have good relations with the local court. Feng Biaotao, how are you? Very well, Captain Shi. We haven't seen each other for a while, right? Yes, it's true that we haven't seen each other for a while. I have been busy with official duties recently and don't have much time to come to visit. I hope Feng Biaotao will forgive me. I dare not. I dare not. If I have to say a visit, it should be me who goes to visit the captain. How dare I trouble the captain to come? Feng Biaotao also smiled. Even if Shi Gang's martial arts are not as good as his, after all, Shi Gang is a member of the government. Maybe in the overall situation of the martial arts, the power of the court is far less than the combined power of the martial arts sects. But if we only consider Changhang escort agency, there is no need for them to offend someone like Shi Gang. Captain Shi, what can I do for you? Escort Captain Feng asked again. To be honest with Captain Feng, the purpose of my coming here is for Brother Changqing. As soon as Shi Gang finished speaking, Captain Feng looked behind him in surprise and asked in confusion, how did Captain Shi know Changqing? This is a long story. Last night, all of us detectives went out to arrest the evil thief Qiu Bei. If it weren't for Brother Changqing, Qiu Bei might have gotten away. Brother Changqing has helped us a lot. Shi Gang said slowly, I came here in person to thank Brother Changqing. Having said that, Shi Gang finally turned his attention to Xia Changqing. Brother Changqing, I have come here as agreed. You must give me this opportunity. I have set up a banquet in the restaurant, waiting for you to come. Captain Shi, thank you for your kindness. I said last night that stopping Qiu Bei is just a piece of cake. There is no need for you to mobilize so many troops, and there is no need for this banquet. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo fanfic novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Banquet. Xia Changqing directly refused Shigang. He could hear the indifference and alienation in Feng Biaotao's conversation with Shigang. Brother Changqing, why are you in such a hurry to refuse? Do you have anything important to do tonight? Just ask. I will never refuse if I can be of any use to you. Captain Shi, I have already agreed to visit Feng Biaotao's house. It's really unfortunate, Xia Changqing said indifferently, using Feng Biaotao as an excuse. However, he was not wrong. He and Feng Biaotao had already made an appointment. Haha, Changqing, since Captain Shi has invited you so kindly, it would be bad if you refuse again. After all, we are all family. If you want to visit my house, tonight is not a big deal. I think you should go to Captain Shi's place tonight. Don't let Captain Shi down. What Xia Changqing didn't expect was that before he agreed, Feng Biaotao, the old fox, agreed for him. Feng Biaotao naturally had some concerns in his heart. Shigang had already said so and specially prepared a banquet in the restaurant. If Xia Changqing didn't go, wouldn't it be a slap in Shigang's face? At that time, Shigang would not only feel resentful towards Xia Changqing, but would also feel resentful towards Feng Biaotao. Feng Biaotao would never do anything to make enemies for no reason. Moreover, Feng Biaotao said in his words that he and Xia Changqing were a family and Shigang was just an outsider. It was also a kind of courtesy to go to the outsider's appointment first. Shigang glanced at Feng Biaotao quietly and cursed him in his heart as an old fox. Although this invisible confrontation showed Feng Biaotao's magnanimity and the closeness between him and Xia Changqing didn't like to do this. What do you mean? Feng Biaotao agreed to it immediately. Did you ask me, the person involved, for my opinion? Maybe in Feng Biaotao's eyes, the reason why Xia Changqing couldn't go to Shigang's banquet was because he had just agreed to it. Now that Feng the escort leader had spoken, it was only natural for Xia Changqing to go to Shigang's banquet. But in the end, Xia Changqing still left with Shigang and went to Shigang's banquet together. Xia Changqing was not a person who could not control his emotions. Shigang said that he was having a banquet alone, and it was really him alone. None of the other constables came. Only he and Xia Changqing sat in a private room in the restaurant. With Shigang's face, it was very easy to do such a thing. At the banquet, Shigang calmly inquired about Xia Changqing's background, and Xia Changqing still talked about the same old things, and told Shigang about his background in Changhang Escort Agency. Shigang looked thoughtful, and he did not delve too much into it. Instead, he asked Xia Changqing how he thought of going to Changhang Escort Agency to become a bodyguard. Brother Changqing, with your martial arts, if you can join the government, you will definitely achieve great things. In the future, you will be able to bring honor to your family and govern a region. Shigang persuaded in a low voice. If Xia Changqing had joined Changhang Escort Agency for a long time, he would not have said these words. But now Xia Changqing has just joined Changhang Escort Agency, and today is just his first day. In Shigang's opinion, Xia Changqing definitely has no feelings for Changhang Escort Agency. In this case, it should be a very simple thing to persuade Xia Changqing to abandon the dark and join the light. That's right, in Shigang's opinion, Xia Changqing left Changhang Escort Agency, joined their government, and became a constable, which is an act of abandoning the dark and joining the light. It's a pity that Xia Changqing smiled indifferently and rejected Shigang's kindness. Becoming a constable seems to be a good job, but in the current court, the emperor's incompetent and treacherous ministers are in power. If you really want to stand out among the constables, you can only curry favor with the powerful ministers. Xia Changqing is not looking for trouble. If he is really asked to curry favor with those powerful officials, he will be afraid that he will not be able to help but draw his sword and kill those people. Therefore, it is still freer in Changhang Escort Agency. With the help of escorting, he can travel all over the country with someone to lead the way. If he doesn't want to do it one day, he can just leave. One Changhang will not do anything to him. If it is placed in the public system, there will be no such good thing. I appreciate the kindness of Captain Xi, but I have been used to freedom since I was a child, and I'm not used to being ordered around. This is a clear rejection. Although he was mentally prepared, Xi Gang still couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. But Xi Gang didn't force it, so after this meal, the atmosphere between the two was still very harmonious. When the lights came on, Xi Gang brought Xia Changqing out of the restaurant. Xi Gang put his arm around Xia Changqing's shoulders affectionately. "Brother Changqing, there's no need to rush back. I'll take you to a good place." Xi Gang chuckled, and his usually upright face now showed a hint of vulgarity. This kind of smile is something that all men understand. Xia Changqing naturally knew where the good place Xi Gang was talking about was. Although Xia Changqing didn't have any idea of keeping himself clean, he really had no interest in that kind of place. Xia Changqing held his forehead with his hand, frowning. "Brother Xi, I can't handle the alcohol. I feel an unbearable headache now. When there is another chance in the future, I will go out with you to see the world. Let's stop here tonight." "Oh, Brother Changqing, why are you so disappointed?" Xi Gang said, a little displeased. His eyes met Xia Changqing's cold eyes. After realizing that Xia Changqing really had no intention of doing so, Xi Gang's alcohol sobered up a little and did not force him to do anything. The two said goodbye to each other. Xia Changqing lived in the east of the city, while Xi Gang lived in the government office in the north of the city. They were not on the same road. After leaving Xi Gang, Xia Changqing forced out the alcohol in his body as usual. He chuckled. He did not expect that he would be so popular after coming to this world. What Xia Changqing did not expect was that his popularity was not just that. On the second day, after Xia Changqing came to Changhang Escort Agency, he had not yet started to learn from Feng Biaotao, but someone came to the door. "Where is Xia Changqing?" A figure suddenly broke into Feng Biaotao's side yard. The other party walked like a dragon and a tiger, full of vigor and vitality, with a long sword on his waist, and the whole person looked very energetic. "Young escort captain is back. Did you go out smoothly this time?" As Feng Biaotao greeted him, Xia Changqing instantly understood the identity of the visitor. This person was the young escort captain of Changhang Escort Agency, Guan Changhang's son, Guan Wenyi. He was only 19 years old this year and inherited the good swordsmanship from Guan Changhang. At a young age, he was able to lead the escort team alone. Although he has a somewhat eccentric personality, he is still calm and composed. He is the perfect future successor to Changhang Escort Agency. Chapter 204 Guan Wenyi. Guan Wenyi, the young escort leader, was a man of heroic character. He came in a hurry. He smiled rudely. "Uncle Feng, I'm back. I heard that our escort agency has a new escort master who is young, but has great martial arts skills." As he spoke, Guan Wenyi's eyes were already on Xia Changqing, and there was a strong light of interest in his eyes. Xia Changqing didn't expect Guan Wenyi to be such a person, but such a person doesn't have many tricks, so it's easy to get along with him. "Young escort leader, I've heard of you for a long time. Come on, let's have a competition first to see who is the best expert in Changhang Escort Agency." Guan Wenyi jumped over Feng, the escort leader, and looked happy that he had met a good general and a worthy opponent. He pulled Xia Changqing's arm and wanted to compete with him. "Young escort, let's wait until I have some free time before we talk about the competition. I still need to learn the experience of escorting from Escort Feng." "Hey." Guan Wenyi smiled contemptuously. "What's there to learn? The experience of escorting is not something that can be learned by studying. The next time you escort, just follow me and go a few more times and you will have experience." Guan Wenyi said indifferently. He had never learned any experience of escorting since he was a child. He learned it by following Guan Changhang and learning it by himself. So in Guan Wenyi's view, escorting is just a matter of learning from books. It is still necessary to gain experience in practice. "Stop learning, let's have a fight, and then go drink." Guan Wenyi grabbed Xia Changqing's arm and refused to let go. Even Escort Feng couldn't do anything to him. Escort Feng gave Xia Changqing a look of wishing him well. Since Xia Changqing had been targeted by Guan Wenyi, even Uncle Feng couldn't do anything. But it was just a competition, so it wasn't a big deal. Xia Changqing thought about it and agreed to Guan Wenyi's wish. "Okay, let me go, I promise you." Xia Changqing said lightly. Great. Let's get started. Guan Wei clapped his hands, and as Xia Changqing said, he let go of his arm, jumped to the side, drew out the long knife from his waist, and stared at Xia Changqing with a sharp gaze. Feng Biaotao smiled helplessly. He moved closer to Xia Changqing and whispered, "Be gentle, don't let the young escort lose too badly." Feng Biaotao's worry was not unreasonable. Xia Changqing's martial arts could tie with Guan Shanghang. Although the martial arts of the young escort Guan were also outstanding among the younger generation, they were completely incomparable to those of the older generation. If Xia Changqing didn't look too young, Feng Biaotao really thought that Xia Changqing was of the same generation as them. Xia Changqing nodded slightly to Feng's advice. To be honest, competing with Guan Wei in martial arts really felt like bullying a child. However, if Xia Changqing didn't agree, Guan Wei looked like he wouldn't give up so easily. What a trouble. Xia Changqing casually drew out his long sword, pointed it at the ground, and looked at Guan Wei quietly. "I heard that you are so good at martial arts that you can even fight my father to a draw. It seems that I'm definitely not your opponent. In this case, do you dare to give me 3 moves?" Guan Wei held the knife, raised it to shoulder height, and stared at Xia Changqing with the tip of the knife. Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei with some surprise. He didn't expect that under the rough appearance of this young escort, there was such a delicate mind. But let alone giving up 3 moves, even if it was 10 moves, it would make no difference to Xia Changqing. Seeing Xia Changqing nod calmly, Guan Wei was secretly happy. He had just returned to the escort agency last night, and he had already heard about Xia Changqing from some people in the escort agency. There was even a rumor that the chief escort chief personally admitted that the 2 sides had fought to a draw. At first, Guan Wei couldn't believe that there was a young man who could fight to a draw with his father. More importantly, what was the reason for this young man with high martial arts skills to make him so upset that he actually joined the escort agency? Guan Wei was very self-aware. Although their Changhang escort agency was a big force in Luoyang, it was far from being a big name in the world of martial arts. Out of curiosity, Guan Wei of course found Guan Shanghang as soon as possible to ask whether the matter was true or not. Although it was a very shameful thing to tell his son in person that another young man had fought to a draw with him in martial arts, Guan Shanghang was not a hypocritical person after all. He told Guan Wei truthfully that the rumors he heard were true. This made Guan Wei have a strong interest in Xia Changqing. It was a pity that he came back very late last night. At that time, Xia Changqing had already gone out to drink with Shi Gang, so Guan Wei didn't see Xia Changqing at the first time. Guan Wei got up early in the morning and asked the disciples guarding the gate to pay attention to Xia Changqing's whereabouts. After Xia Changqing arrived, he would notify him as soon as possible. That's why Xia Changqing was found by Guan Wei just after he arrived at the escort agency. Seeing that Xia Changqing had agreed to let him take 3 moves, Guan Wei's eyes moved, and he stepped hard, and the whole person raised his knife to cut Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing nodded secretly. Judging from Guan Wei's sudden attack, his strength can be regarded as entering the hall. But compared with him, he is still far behind. Xia Changqing didn't draw his sword, but just slightly turned sideways, and he had already dodged Guan Wei's attack. Guan Wei had already been mentally prepared for his attack to be dodged. He didn't have any frustrated expression, but was full of excitement, and slashed at Xia Changqing with one knife faster and faster. Xia Changqing's clothes fluttered, and his feet only moved within a small range. His body showed amazing flexibility, dodging all of Guan Wei's attacks. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen moves had already passed. "Is it my turn?" Xia Changqing whispered in Guan Wei's ear, which made Guan Wei's heart startled. Before he could make any move, a shrill sword light had already entered his eyes. In a panic, Guan Wei could only raise his sword to block. Before he could see clearly how Xia Changqing drew his sword, he felt a strong force coming from his hand, which made him step back a few steps and loosen his palm to relieve the vibration. Before Guan Wei could finish his words, Xia Changqing's attack was already in front of him. Guan Wei had no time to say anything, and could only devote himself to blocking Xia Changqing's attack. At this time, Guan Wei completely fell into Xia Changqing's rhythm, and did not make any counter-attack until he failed. Guan Wei looked at Xia Changqing with great frustration, feeling that all the martial arts he had practiced over the years had been wasted. Chapter 205. Baseball Fist. Guan Wei rubbed his wrist with a grin. It was just a thin long sword, but Xia Changqing used it as a broad blade. The force of the slashes made his hand hurt unbearably. No more fighting, no more fighting. Isn't this bullying? Guan Wei cried out loudly. I originally thought that the fact that you and my father fought to a draw was just a rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true. Guan Wei complained, but soon, the frustrated expression on his face disappeared, replaced by an interested look, staring at Xia Changqing closely. Can you tell me how you practiced martial arts? Oh, and the most important thing is, how old are you this year? Xia Changqing hesitated for a moment, and then said without hesitation, 18. I'm 18 years old this year. A man is a teenager until he dies. He is always 18 years old. What's wrong with that? Guan Wei suddenly sighed heavily. How can you be just 18 years old? He had an expression of disbelief, which made Xia Changqing touch his face involuntarily. Has his real age been exposed? Impossible. How could Guan Wei, a young boy, see through his real age? I'm already 19 years old this year, but my martial arts are far from your opponent. Then, Guan Wei's voice of resentment for injustice sounded, and explained that what he said before was not to doubt Xia Changqing's real age. It was just Guan Wei's performance that made Xia Changqing touch his nose in embarrassment. Was it too cruel for him to lie to Guan Wei like this? No, how could he call it a lie? 18 years old is his real age. There is nothing wrong with it. Surprisingly, Guan Wei's depression only lasted for a short time before he recovered. This fight was really enjoyable. Changqing, let's go. I'll treat you to a drink. Let's celebrate our acquaintance. After recovering from his depressed mood, Guan Wei immediately wanted to take Xia Changqing to the pub to drink, which made him feel a little bit of a wry smile. This kid is really generous. Looking at Feng Biaotao, his face was also full of helplessness. Young Biaotao, Changqing has just joined our escort agency. Now is the time for him to learn the experience of escorting. How can he go out for a drink casually? Feng Biaotao said with a wry smile. What does it matter? Uncle Feng, can't I, Guan Wei, teach him? Guan Wei patted his chest. I've said it before, the experience of escorting can't be taught by teaching. Young Biaotao. Feng Biaotao wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Guan Wei. Uncle Feng, do I still need to ask my father for this little thing? Guan Wei showed displeasure on his face, and then his face changed in an instant, and he approached Feng Biaotao with a playful smile. Uncle Feng, I know you are the best to me. I'll take Changqing away. If my father asks, just push it to me. After Guan Wei finished speaking very quickly, he directly pulled Xia Changqing and ran outside. Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei helplessly. How could this young escort leader still be a little childish and skip work with him like this? Is this okay? However, as the young master of the Changhang Escort Agency, a personal enterprise, Guan Wei will sooner or later become the owner of the escort agency. It's okay to be a little willful. Come on, Changqing, I'll treat you to a drink. Guan Wei pulled Xia Changqing towards the tavern. Poor ancient people, their daily entertainment activities were really too scarce. In addition to drinking, they just drank, and there were no other entertainment activities. Xia Changqing couldn't resist Guan Wei, so he could only follow him all the way to the tavern. Young escort, it seems like this is the first time we meet. Are we close enough to go to a restaurant for a drink? Changqing, you are wrong. Although we just met, I already have a feeling that we are old friends. As a man, it is natural to enhance the relationship over a drink. Guan Wei said indifferently. Xia Changqing shook his head helplessly. This young escort Guan really didn't treat himself as an outsider. Luoyang City was very lively during the day, and there were many pedestrians on the streets. Xia Changqing followed Guan Wei to a nearby restaurant. Before entering the restaurant, Xia Changqing's attention was attracted by the scene on an open space next to the restaurant. What is that doing? Xia Changqing asked Guan Wei. The young escort first looked at Xia Changqing in confusion, then looked at the place he was looking at, and his eyes immediately showed a look of realization. That's the father and daughter of the Qi family. Why, have you seen that chick Keely? Brother, if you're interested, I'll definitely support you. The father and daughter of the Qi family? Xia Changqing asked in confusion as he moved towards that direction. On a small open space, a high platform was built. The father and daughter of the Qi family mentioned by Guan Wei were standing on the platform, performing a kind of boxing with all their might. Changqing, what's so good about this? If you have this kind of kung fu, you might as well go drink a few more glasses of wine. Guan Wei also followed Xia Changqing's footsteps and came to the bottom of the high platform. He looked at the father and daughter of the Qi family on the stage with a disdainful look. Young escort, what kind of boxing do the father and daughter of the Qi family use? Xia Changqing asked with interest. In his opinion, the boxing used by the father and daughter was extremely crude. Not to mention that he was on the stage. Even Guan Wei would be able to completely abuse the father and daughter. But Xia Changqing had a strange feeling. He actually saw the truth of boxing from this crude boxing. Hey, Changqing, are you interested in this kind of rubbish martial arts? Guan Wei belittled the other party, and then he saw Xia Changqing's indifferent eyes, and his heart jumped, so he said a little more. The father and daughter of the Qi family practiced wild bull boxing. The two belonged to a sect called Wild Bull Sect. However, that sect only had these two people, otherwise they would not have fallen to the point of performing for a living. Wild bull boxing has no merits at all, and it can only deceive ignorant ordinary people. Guan Wei did not hide his voice. Before he finished speaking, Qi Li on the stage had stopped boxing. Her face flushed with anger, and her almond eyes stared at Guan Wei with anger. Wild bull boxing is the best boxing in the world. Senior Xiao Zami used wild bull boxing to defeat all opponents in the world. The girl's crisp voice sounded, although it was full of anger, it felt like the sound of a lark. Haha. Guan Wei sneered like a straight man. It happened 100 years ago, who knows whether it is true or not. But the fact that you guys can only perform here to make money is an indisputable fact. Am I wrong? Chapter 206, Detecting Hostility and Taking Preemptive Strike. Guan Wei's words made Qi Li's face flush. Of course, Qi Li was not impressed by Guan Wei's demeanor, but was angry. Seeing that Qi Li's eyes were full of anger when looking at Guan Wei, Xia Changqing secretly pulled Guan Wei with his hand, wanting him to calm down. But Guan Wei didn't understand Xia Changqing's intention. He kept talking and wanted to argue with Qi Li. This time, even Qi's father's face was not right, and his eyes were full of dissatisfaction. Guan Wei, you shameless villain, you always slander our wild football goal. I didn't care about you in the past, but I didn't expect you to be even worse. Even if you are the young escort of Changhang Escort Agency, I will never let you go. Qi Li stomped her feet in anger. After hearing this, Guan Wei laughed immediately. He didn't carry any weapons when he pulled Xia Changqing out this time, but even if he was unarmed, he didn't take Qi Li, a little girl, seriously. So Guan Wei crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Qi Li with contempt. I wonder how you plan to get over me. You. Qi Li stamped her feet. Come up if you have the guts. Let's have a fight. If you lose, you have to admit that our wild bull fist is the best boxing in the world. Leah, don't be impulsive. Old man Qi hurriedly stood up with a hint of embarrassment on his face. This wild bull fist was indeed the boxing method used by Xiao Zami back then, and it could be called the best in the world. But he also knew that only after wild bull fist was thoroughly understood could it achieve the effect of detecting hostility and taking the initiative, and only then could it have the power of the best boxing method in the world. Before wild bull fist was fully practiced, it was no different from the boxing methods used by street hooligans in fights. In this case, old man Qi naturally knew that Qi Li's wild bull fist was definitely not Guan Wei's opponent. They all belonged to the forces of Luoyang City. Old man Qi certainly knew that there was a world of difference between Changhang Escort Agency and their Wild Bull Gate. Changhang Escort Agency was the sky, and their Wild Bull Gate was the soil. If Qi Li fights Guan Wei, isn't that humiliating herself? It's just that old man Qi can persuade Qi Li, but Guan Wei won't listen to him. Before old man Qi could stop the fight, Guan Wei agreed immediately, jumped lightly, and went up to the high platform, facing Qi Li from a distance. Good. The cheers of the onlookers were so loud that they suppressed old man Qi's voice. They had seen enough of simple boxing a long time ago. It was not easy to see two people with martial arts fighting. These people's eyes suddenly lit up, and they all started to cheer. At this point, Keely was also a little bit caught in a dilemma. Moreover, young people are the most face conscious. She couldn't listen to anything old man Key said. Xia Changqing touched his chin and stared at the stage with interest. He just didn't know how well Keely could use the baseball punch. Well, since you two are sure you want to fight, then stop at the right time and don't hurt anyone's life. Father Key stood between the two, ready to stop the fight at any time. One of the two young people was his biological daughter, and the other was the young escort leader of Changqing Escort Agency. He didn't want to see either of them get hurt. Guanwei, come on. Keely shouted, slowly putting up a boxing stance. Humph, I'll let you have 3 moves first, just come on. Guanwei smiled lightly, still holding his arms in front of his chest, looking like a lonely master. Keely's eyes flashed with a trace of anger, and immediately a straight punch, hitting Guanwei's chest directly. Zizi, your attack is too slow. While dodging Keely's attack, Guanwei even had the leisure to comment on Keely's boxing. Too slow. Too slow. Hey, are you tickling me with this move? This massage is so comfortable, give it a few more times. Guanwei kept talking, just like a mental attack, which directly affected Keely's boxing moves. After not seeing the effect for a long time, Keely's mind became more and more confused, and her moves gradually lost their order, making Guanwei seem more relaxed. Pa. Keely punched again. Guanwei was quick-witted and grabbed Keely's wrist. The little girl was angry and embarrassed. Failure was not terrible, but Guanwei's attitude, that was almost like teasing, was terrible. You shameless man, let me go quickly. Keely scolded in a hurry. Guanwei also realized that his behavior was inappropriate. Although he was a bit young and vigorous, he was not a real bad guy. At that moment, he was like being electrocuted and hurriedly let go of Keely. With a wry smile on his face, Guanwei scratched his head. This battle, let's call it a draw. Guanwei clasped his fists and was about to leave. HMPH, I'm not a petty person. If I lose, I lose. Keely's eyes were red as she spoke, which immediately made Guanwei flustered. Key's father also hurried forward to comfort her. The Key family father and daughter hurriedly left the stage. The audience was very happy to see the show. Today's trip was really worthwhile. The culprit who made Keely cry, the young escort of Changqing Escort Agency, looked a little embarrassed. He noticed Xia Changqing's gaze at the backs of the Key family father and daughter. I really didn't mean it. Who knew Keely was so fragile? Isn't it just a loss? What's there to cry about? The young escort Guan, the representative of straight men, was very puzzled. When I fought with you, I lost so badly, but I didn't cry like her. Can people be the same? She's a little girl, and you don't know how to give in a little. You don't even understand the principle of sympathizing with women. Xia Changqing complained in his heart. Guanwei didn't even care about the fact that Keely was beaten to tears, let alone the thought of sympathizing with women. He didn't even take it to heart. He stopped paying attention to Keely in an instant. Changqing, let's go. I was already hungry. After the fight, I feel even hungrier. Guanwei pulled Xia Changqing and ran to the restaurant next door. He forgot about Keely. The young escort leader was also a frequent customer of this restaurant. As soon as he entered the door, he directly called the waiter to lead him to the private room. He didn't need the waiter to introduce the dishes. He ordered several dishes with ease. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Guanwei talked to Xia Changqing with great interest about the interesting things he experienced during his escort mission. Xia Changqing chatted with Guanwei for a while. Of course, Guanwei was talking most of the time, while Xia Changqing was listening. Although Xia Changqing was listening to Guanwei on the surface, his mind had already drifted to other places. Xia Changqing was thinking about how he could learn baseball boxing from Old Man Key. After his observation, he found that baseball boxing did have a hint of the truth of boxing, but it was a pity that the father and daughter of the Key family did not practice it to perfection. Chapter 207 Bringing Gifts. Throughout the whole banquet, Xia Changqing was absent-minded. Although young escort Guan was a bit careless, he could not fail to notice Xia Changqing's obvious state. Suddenly, young escort became a little unhappy. Hey, Xia Changqing, Does drinking with me make you so uncomfortable? What on earth are you thinking about? No. Xia Changqing also realized that his behavior was inappropriate, but his curiosity about baseball still prevailed, so if young escort was unhappy, he would just let him be. Young escort, are you full? If you are, follow me to a place. Where? Guan Wei asked subconsciously, but then his expression became a little annoyed. I'm not full yet. How can I get here? It's okay if you're not full. I'll treat you to a good meal later. Xia Changqing didn't say anything and directly called the waiter. Check out. Hey, I didn't say check out. Guan Wei shouted dissatisfiedly. I'll host a banquet to make amends to you tonight. I'm busy now. Let's go. Now the situation was reversed, and Xia Changqing dragged Guan Wei out of the restaurant. I can go with you, but at least you have to tell me what the matter is, right? The young escort leader shouted helplessly. He was confused and didn't understand what Xia Changqing was going crazy about. You lead the way. We are going to the Wild Bull Gate. Xia Changqing said quickly. His purpose was the Wild Bull Fist. But Guan Wei was very puzzled. Wild Bull Gate? No way. You're not really interested in Wild Bull Fist, are you? Guan Wei's face was full of surprise, as if he couldn't believe that a master like Xia Changqing would actually be interested in a rubbish boxing style like Wild Bull Fist. This Wild Bull Fist is not simple. Don't ask so many questions. Just lead the way. Xia Changqing thought about it. He had something to ask of someone, so it didn't seem very appropriate to visit him directly. So Xia Changqing went to buy a roast chicken and some soju, so that he wouldn't come empty-handed. Guan Wei looked at Xia Changqing the whole time with a non-human look. If I hadn't seen you still know how to buy things, I would really think you were crazy. You actually really believed the nonsense that Wild Bull boxing is the best boxing in the world. It's unreasonable. You are the only one who talks too much. Are we there yet? We are here. We are here. Standing in front of the gate of a small courtyard, Guan Wei pointed to a barely visible door plaque. Xia Changqing looked over and saw a small door plaque erected on the door frame with 3 big characters on it. Wild Bull Gate. Hahaha, it's so funny. I have never seen any sect use this kind of door plaque as a facade. Guan Wei laughed loudly, and the laughter spread into the yard, and immediately a crisp voice responded. It's you again, shameless guy. What do you want? Do you want to bully our human with the power of your Changhang escort agency? Guan Wei's laughter stopped abruptly. He looked at Keely, who rushed out with a bit of embarrassment, not knowing how to answer. Speaking of the matter, he was indeed standing at someone's door and laughing at her. Miss Keely. Xia Changqing took over the conversation and pulled Guan Wei behind him, blocking Keely's angry sight. I'm not a lady. And who are you? Are you in the same group with this shameless guy? Xia Changqing looked at Keely, whose eyes were full of vigilance, and for a moment, he didn't know how to start. After being stunned for a moment, Xia Changqing stared at Keely's increasingly dangerous eyes, and he raised the gift in his hand. I'm here to visit the head of your sect, Xia. When Xia Changqing said this, Keely's beautiful eyes widened instantly, looking at Xia Changqing in disbelief. If she heard it correctly, this man said to visit the head of the sect and Xia. Keely smiled and stepped aside. Come in. You come here. What else do you want to bring? Keely snatched the gift from Xia Changqing's hand and shouted to the door. Dad, come out quickly. Someone is here to visit you. Who? Old Man Key walked out of the house. Keely walked to Old Man Key's side quickly and whispered to Old Man Key about the situation. After hearing what his daughter said, Old Man Key smiled. Ahem. Old Man Key coughed twice, straightened his chest, and instantly became cool. Young man, come in and sit down. I wonder what you are doing at our Kielman? The 2 hosts and 1 guest walked into the house happily, and Guan Wei, the young escort, was directly ignored by the 3 people. The young escort opened his mouth, and a trace of shame and anger flashed across his face, but he still did not turn around and leave, because Xia Changqing's visit to Kielman was really too strange. Guan Wei was extremely curious. Since no one was paying attention to him, he walked into the house by himself. After seeing the situation in the house clearly, Guan Wei flashed a trace of disdain in his heart. To describe the situation of the Wild Bull sect as penniless was already an overestimation of them. On Xia Changqing's side, after giving the gift, he said straight to the point, Master Qi, I'm very interested in the Wild Bull Fist of your Wild Bull sect. I wonder how I can learn it? You want to learn Wild Bull Fist? Old Man Qi and Keely looked at each other. He seemed to have thought of something happy and laughed out loud. The laughter continued for a while. Just when Guan Wei thought that the old man had gone insane, Old Man Qi's laughter stopped abruptly. He slapped the table and praised loudly, young man, you have a good eye. The Wild Bull Fist of our Wild Bull clan was inherited from the young Xiao's army hero who dominated the world at a young age. Although my daughter did not beat Guan Xiao Biao Tao in the duel, that was because she was not good at learning. This Wild Bull Fist can only exert its true power after practicing to the last level. Old Senior Qi, I understand what you said. I wonder what price I need to pay to learn this Wild Bull Fist? Xia Changqing interrupted Old Man Qi's boasting. Perhaps it was because no one had recognized the Wild Bull clan for too long, and Old Man Qi seemed too excited. Oh, young man, I wonder which school or sect you learned from? If you join our Wild Bull clan, I can consider teaching you this peerless martial arts. Seeing Old Man Qi's pretentious look, Xia Changqing felt very uncomfortable. He wanted to punch him in the face. Senior Qi, although I come from an unknown small sect, I have no intention of changing my sect casually. Please don't mention the idea of joining the Wild Bull sect anymore. Xia Changqing refused directly. Chapter 208 Exchange. After hearing Xia Changqing's answer, a hint of hesitation appeared on Old Man Qi's face. He pondered for a moment, staring at Xia Changqing. Since you are unwilling to join my Wild Bull sect, then this matter will be difficult to handle. After all, this Wild Bull Fist is a secret that is not passed on in our sect. No matter how beautifully Old Man Qi said, Xia Changqing had already seen through his pretending to be reserved. Wild Bull Fist cannot be cultivated to the last level and show the power of Dugun 9 swords, which is no different from ordinary boxing that is common on the street. In this case, Old Man Qi said this just to wait for the price. Xia Changqing thought for a while and said, I have a sword technique that can be exchanged for Wild Bull Fist. A sword technique? Old Man Qi glanced at Keely and felt moved instantly. He knew very well in his heart that, although he had always boasted that Wild Bull Fist was the best boxing in the world, the reality was very cruel. Wild Bull sect had fallen to such a low point that it did not even have a single disciple. Usually, he and his daughter Keely could only perform in Luoyang City to earn some hard-earned money, which was barely enough for them. During this period of time, the audience had already grown tired of their boxing performances, which made Old Man Qi worried. Now there was a sword technique in front of him. Even if he didn't think about himself, he had to think about his daughter Keely. Seeing that his daughter had reached the age of marriage, but there was no suitable family yet, the young escort chief of Changhang Escort Agency was not bad. However, Changhang Escort Agency was a large and powerful company, and even if the young escort chief wanted to marry, he had to find someone of equal status. If he could have a sword technique, the foundation of the wild football team would also be increased. At that moment, Old Man Qi was about to agree, but he was also an old man in the arena, and he changed his expression when he was about to say it. My baseball fist is not simple, it is a peerless martial art. I don't even know what your swordsmanship is like. If it is a superficial swordsmanship, I won't exchange it with you. Xia Changqing thought about it, and it was the same reason. You have to check the goods before buying a pound of cabbage, let alone such a swordsmanship. That's easy. Dad Qi, do you have a sword to lend me? When Xia Changqing asked this, an embarrassed look appeared on Dad Qi's face. Xia Changqing looked at it and thought, well, there is no need to ask, it is obvious whether there is one or not. That's it. Xia Changqing stood up and looked around, searching around the room. His eyes lit up. In the puzzled eyes of the three people, he walked to the corner of the room and picked up a wooden stick. Of course, a wooden stick cannot be compared with a sharp sword. At the very least, the feel is very different. This reminded Xia Changqing of those legendary kendo geniuses. A Fei, the fast swordsman who roamed the martial arts world with only a piece of broken iron. Yi Gucheng, the flying fairy from the sky. Zeman Chuksu, the sword god. And Dugu Kyubei, who reached the realm of swordsmanship and could turn grass, trees, flying stones into swords. These characters are all senior masters who have made a great reputation in swordsmanship. Xia Changqing's current realm is certainly not comparable to these people, but if it is just about dealing with the father and daughter of the Qi family, then it is more than enough. Xia Changqing stretched out his right hand, and without any movement, the wooden stick that was originally lying quietly in the corner automatically flew into his hand. Dragon capture skill. Guan Xiaobiao tousted up from his chair and looked at Xia Changqing in disbelief. Changqing, you are using the dragon capture skill? Hearing Guan Wen's words, the father and daughter of the Qi family could not hide their shock. For a small sect like them, how could they have seen such a profound martial art as the dragon capture skill? You can also use this martial art to exchange for the baseball fist. Old Man Qi muttered in a low voice. Xia Changqing glanced at Old Man Qi and thought, you are really shameless. If this is really the dragon capture technique, even Guan Chenghan would definitely be tempted. Of course, Xia Changqing's move is certainly not the dragon capture technique. You know, he is not only good at martial arts, but also has magic. Young escort, you think too much. This is certainly not the dragon capture technique. Xia Changqing explained lightly. However, Guan Wei was full of disbelief. He looked as if he was sure that Xia Changqing's move was the dragon capture technique, which made Xia Changqing very speechless. Okay, Old Man Qi, you watch it. Xia Changqing shouted softly, asking Old Man Qi to turn his attention to him. Then Xia Changqing used the wooden stick in his hand to quickly perform a sword technique. The sword intent was grim. Even though Xia Changqing only held a wooden stick in his hand, Old Man Qi felt the sharpness of the sword light floating. Good sword technique. Old Man Qi said with a tingling scalp. This sword technique was enough to exchange for his baseball punch. Strictly speaking, the value of this sword technique is far greater than the value of the wild bull fist, at least in Guan Wen's opinion. Until now, Guan Wen still couldn't understand why Xia Changqing would use such a sword technique to exchange for the rubbish wild bull fist. Could it be that Xia Changqing had taken a fancy to Qi Li? So he used this method to attract Qi Li's attention. Guan Wen touched his chin and thought so in his heart. He especially observed Qi Li's appearance. It must be said that Qi Li was indeed a bit of a beauty. Xia Changqing, who was performing the sword technique, certainly didn't know that Guan Wei had already arranged him in that way. The sword technique inherited from Chen Jinan appeared in this world just like this. Xia Changqing performed all the routines of the sword technique with great pleasure. When he put away his sword and stood up, because he performed a superb sword technique, the wooden stick in Xia Changqing's hand could not withstand the invasion of the sword intent and directly broke into sawdust. Looking at the dazed Old Man Qi, Xia Changqing chuckled and called back the other party's mind. Old Qi, how about my sword technique? Good sword technique. Old Qi smacked his lips, feeling a little unsatisfied. What's the name of this sword technique? Xia Changqing was stunned. He only learned sword techniques from Chen Jinan, but he never asked what the name of this sword technique was. Nameless. Sword technique is nameless. There is no move. When the sword is drawn, no move is better than a move. Xia Changqing said firmly. I see. Old Qi had an unknown feeling of power, and he was obviously tempted. But Xia Changqing was willing to use this nameless sword technique to exchange for his wild bull boxing, which made him feel anxious. Old Qi fell into the same suspicion as Guan Wei. The other party was young and promising, with high martial arts skills, and he could get by anywhere. With such a superb martial arts, why did he want to learn wild bull boxing? Does the other party have any ulterior motives? Is he plotting something in secret? Looking at the entire baseball goal, Father Qi felt that there was only one thing that was worth the other party's attempt. Chapter 209 Self-Imagination. Are you coveting my daughter? Old Man Qi almost didn't say what he was thinking. Self-imagination is the most deadly. The more Old Man Qi thought about it, the more he felt that Xia Changqing did this for Qi Li. If Xia Changqing knew about this, he would definitely cry out for injustice. He also admitted that Qi Li was indeed a lovely girl, but this was definitely not his cup of tea. He really just wanted to learn baseball boxing. Thinking of this, Old Man Qi looked at Xia Changqing with a critical look. Xia Changqing also noticed the strange change in Old Man Qi, but he didn't think much about it. Old Man Qi, tell me the truth. Can we exchange? Xia Changqing urged again. It was not only old man Qi who was attracted to this sword technique, Qi Li had also been attracted to it for a long time. Seeing that old man Qi was still hesitating, Qi Li immediately came to his side. Dad, agree to him. Qi Li said anxiously. Old man Qi glared at his daughter. Is this a sword technique? If you want to marry his daughter, you must at least take over the responsibility of strengthening the wild bull goal. Ahem. Old man Qi coughed twice, and a trace of reserve appeared on his face again, which made Xia Changqing feel depressed, and cursed old man Qi. He was really greedy. Change. Why not change? Let's change. At this moment, a surprising scene happened. Qi Li agreed on behalf of old man Qi. She turned around, and ran to the inner room. When old man Qi was stunned, and did not react, she ran out of the inner room, and stuffed a thread-bound ancient book into Xia Changqing. Here, this is the secret book of wild bull boxing. Qi Li said crisply, and then handed her hand to Xia Changqing. Where is the secret book of the nameless sword technique? Old man Qi looked at this scene with grief and anger, and shouted in his heart, it's really true, that girls can't be kept, when they grow up. Xia Changqing lowered his head, and flipped open the secret book, that Qi Li had stuffed into his hand. On the green cover, there were 3 big characters for Yikyukwun. When he flipped open the secret book, a series of stick-drawn images appeared in front of him. This is the secret book of Yikyukwun. Xia Changqing put away the secret book, and planned to go back, and study it carefully. Miss Qi, there is no secret book for my nameless swordsmanship. Before Xia Changqing finished speaking, Qi Li became anxious in an instant. What do you mean? Do you want to rob it by force? In broad daylight, in the open world? Stop, stop, stop. What are you talking about? Xia Changqing interrupted Qi Li's words with a headache. This girl's temper was too impatient. He hadn't finished speaking yet. What did I say about robbing it by force? Xia Changqing said helplessly, although there is no secret book for my nameless swordsmanship, I can promise to teach you step by step, until you learn this swordsmanship. Yes. No. The voices of the father and daughter of the Qi family rang out at the same time. Qi Li looked at her father in surprise, not understanding why he said no. Father Qi found himself between Xia Changqing and Qi Li in 2 steps, staring at Xia Changqing angrily. I said no. If it's not possible, I can teach you. As long as one of you learns this sword technique, the agreement between us will be completed. Xia Changqing didn't care. Since Father Qi wanted to learn, he would teach him. Dad, you are so old, how can you learn as fast as me? Don't make trouble. Of course, this wouldn't work. Father Qi glared at his daughter. He would not give this kid a chance to be alone with his daughter. Anyway, I don't care. I just want to learn the nameless sword technique. Father Qi started to act like a rogue. This old naughty look made Xia Changqing smile bitterly. Well, you two can learn together. It's fine if you teach 1 or 2. But we have to agree in advance that, as long as one person learns, our agreement ends here. Xia Changqing would not leave loopholes. If Father Qi or Qi Li had poor martial arts aptitude, and could never learn, could he still teach them for a lifetime? Of course, it is also possible that both of them had poor martial arts aptitude, wasting Xia Changqing's time in vain, and he would also consider violating his promise. After hearing what Xia Changqing said, Father Qi reluctantly agreed. He thought very well. With him present, he would definitely not give Xia Changqing and Qi Li a chance to be alone. Father Qi did not mean that he would not give Xia Changqing a chance, but he only had one daughter, Qi Li, who had been both a father and a mother since she was a child. If he did not find someone who satisfied him very much, Father Qi would not feel at ease to hand his daughter over to the other party. Even if this matter was agreed upon, Xia Changqing still had work to complete at the escort agency during the day, so he could only take time off after work. With the endorsement of the young escort chief Guan Wei, Father Qi chose to believe Xia Changqing. Again, Changhang Escort Agency is a big company, and the young escort chief Guan Wei is well known in Luoyang City. There is no need to deceive the father and daughter. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei left the Wild Bull Gate together. When they walked back to the escort agency, Guan Wei began to flip through the secret manual of Wild Bull Boxing in his hand. In Xia Changqing's view, the way of martial arts lies in communication and learning, so that there is a chance to improve. It is absolutely not advisable to work behind closed doors. So after Guan Wei said that he was interested in wild bull boxing, Xia Changqing did not hesitate to take out the secret manual from his arms and threw it to Guan Wei. Guan Wei simply flipped through it and threw it back to Xia Changqing. You are really obsessed. This secret book is just a simple boxing method for street fighting. It is meaningless. Guan Wei said, fortunately, you are smart enough not to give away your secret book of unknown swordsmanship. In this way, you can teach the father and daughter of the Qi family. Anyway, with their low martial arts, they don't know whether the swordsmanship is good or bad. Xia Changqing didn't listen to Guan Wei's words at all. He solemnly put the boxing secret book back into his arms. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Xia Changqing said perfunctorily. Hey, you have to listen to what I say. Don't be stupid. Guan Wei chased after Xia Changqing and kept instilling in him the idea of not being deceived. In fact, Xia Changqing didn't have the intention of making a fortune quietly, but even if he told others that, after practicing the wild bull boxing, he could really predict the enemy and take the initiative, no one would believe it. There is even a high probability that those people would laugh at him. Even the father and daughter of the Qi family may only talk about the former glory of the wild bull fist, but in fact they have no confidence in the wild bull fist. In this case, even if Xia Changqing printed many copies of the wild bull fist secret manual and distributed it everywhere in Luoyang City, not many people would be interested in it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Promise. What? You actually exchanged a superb sword technique for a baseball punch? This was Feng Biaotao's first reaction after learning about Xia Changqing's behavior. Feng Biaotao's expression, as if he was crazy, made Xia Changqing very helpless. He opened his mouth several times, not knowing how to explain this to Feng Biaotao. Simply, Xia Changqing did not explain. Anyway, no one would believe his explanation. Although it is not pleasant to be the only one sober, while everyone else is drunk, it is still a different feeling to make a fortune in silence. Well, this is your own business, and that sword technique is also your own sword technique. What you want to do has nothing to do with me. Feng Biaotao looked at Xia Changqing with disdain and said, however, in the future, don't even think about going out to fool around with a young escort leader like today, at least before you go on a escort mission. Don't even think about it. Hey, Uncle Feng, what do you mean by going out to fool around with me? Am I going out to fool around? I was going to attract customers. Before Xia Changqing could speak, Guan Wei had already complained. HMPH. Feng looked at Guan Wei with ill intentions. Young escort, you don't listen to what I say, but I have already reported to the chief escort. There will always be someone who can take care of you. Uncle Feng, you are not right. Is this little thing worth telling my father? Guan Wei looked at Feng's face, and after realizing that he was not joking, Guan Wei suddenly lost the mood to stay here. Changqing, take care of yourself. I will come to you when I have the chance. After Guan Wei made a promise without any integrity, he immediately slipped away. Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei's figure riding away in silence and turned around to notice Feng's malicious eyes. Young people are willful and reckless. Did your master teach you martial arts so that you can exchange them with others at will? Feng scolded mercilessly. Yes, yes, yes. Xia Changqing nodded hurriedly. You are right. I will definitely be more stable in the future and will never act recklessly like today. Hearing Xia Changqing's assurance, Feng escort nodded with satisfaction. He continued to teach Xia Changqing about the matters that need to be paid attention to when escorting. Xia Changqing did not get any free time for the whole afternoon. When Feng escort finished teaching, most of the people in the escort agency had left. Xia Changqing walked out of the escort agency leisurely. Although he was just listening to the class and there was no activity, Xia Changqing still felt a little tired. Feng escort was too responsible. He wanted Xia Changqing to remember all the knowledge in matters that need to be paid attention to. Hey, Changqing, what are you thinking about? At this moment, a voice interrupted Xia Changqing's meditation. He looked at the voice and saw Guan Wei, the escort leader, squatting at the door of the escort agency without any image. "What are you doing here?" Xia Changqing asked curiously. "No way, you're turning your back on me? You said at noon that you would treat me to a drink in the evening. You forgot it." Guan Wei shouted in an extremely exaggerated manner. To be honest, after Feng Biaotao's afternoon of knowledge indoctrination, if it weren't for Guan Wei's reminder, Xia Changqing would have really forgotten about this matter a long time ago. "So it was this matter, but it was just a drink. It's amazing that you still remember it so clearly," Xia Changqing said contemptuously. Of course, he didn't want to shirk his debt, but he really had something to do. After hearing what Xia Changqing said, Guan Wei's expression was stunned for a moment, and he began to feel confused. Shouldn't this matter be Xia Changqing's fault? How come in the end, it was his own fault? "You don't want to shirk this wine?" "Of course not," Xia Changqing said righteously. "Am I that kind of person? It's just that I have promised the father and daughter of the Qi family to teach them the nameless sword technique. How can a man go back on his word? Besides, it's just drinking. There is no time to stop drinking. Remember this wine first. I will make it up to you sooner or later. You actually really want to fulfill your promise? You are really crazy," Guan Wei said speechlessly. Since Xia Changqing has already said so, he has no good reason to stop him. After all, the most important thing for people in the rivers and lakes is loyalty. Although Xia Changqing's behavior of remembering his promise made Guan Wei very unhappy, in Guan Wei's heart, he still has a little admiration for Xia Changqing's behavior. After sending Guan Wei away, Xia Changqing walked towards the direction of the wild goal. Halfway through the journey, Xia Changqing couldn't help but think of the embarrassing state of the wild goal, so he bought some cooked food on the street. When Xia Changqing arrived at the wild bull gate and saw the father and daughter of the Qi family, the face of the old man Qi was filled with a welcoming smile again. There was no way, he had no ability to resist what Xia Changqing was holding. At this time, the old man Qi suddenly felt that it seemed to be a good thing to recruit this young man as a son-in-law. At such a young age, and with such high martial arts skills, maybe he will be the next leader of the revitalization of the wild bull gate. Xia Changqing didn't know about the invisible brain supplement of the old man Qi. He was just fulfilling his promise. After the three of them had dinner together, Xia Changqing began to teach the father and daughter of the Qi family swordsmanship. I don't know where the old man Qi got the 3 swords from. Since it is to learn swordsmanship, it is natural that the sword cannot be missing. It seems that the old man Qi still has some tricks. Xia Changqing didn't care about these. He just played the role of a swordsmanship teacher with his heart. The result was not beyond his expectations. In terms of swordsmanship talent, Qi Li is far superior to her father. When it got dark and Xia Changqing was about to leave, Qi Li had already learned her sword techniques and performed them quite well. However, Father Qi was full of incompetence and rage, and he could not catch up with his daughter in terms of progress. Father Qi had no self-awareness at all, and he complained that Xia Changqing did not teach him attentively. On the contrary, Qi Li was sensible and always spoke for Xia Changqing. Father Qi sighed and said, "It's true that a girl can't be kept when she grows up. Leah, in the blink of an eye, you are also old enough to get married." "Dad, what are you talking about?" Qi Li blushed, stamped her feet, and hid in the house. However, Xia Changqing, the old driver, was completely unmoved. After a person has seen a lot, this thick-skinned skill can be mastered automatically without learning. "Father Qi, let's stop here for today's study. I'll take my leave first. See you tomorrow." Xia Changqing said hello to Father Qi as usual, and walked away from the wild bull goal. Looking at Xia Changqing's receding back, old man Qi became more and more satisfied. Chapter 211 Comprehension. After seeing off Xia Changqing, Father Qi quickly closed the door of their baseball field and returned to the house. At a glance, his daughter was sitting in a chair in a daze, and her hands were unconsciously stirring the corners of her clothes. "Daughter, what do you think of that boy?" Father Qi asked carelessly. Logically, this kind of question should not be asked by him as a father. But Qi Li lost her mother when she was young, so he, as a father, can only be both a father and a mother. "Dad, Don't talk nonsense. Brother Xia is naturally very good. You don't even need me to say anything. You can just say he is good. Why don't you let me talk nonsense? Looking at his daughter's appearance, Father Qi thought secretly, and he said nonchalantly, we, the children of Jianghu, don't need to be as shy as those ladies from noble families. Daughter, if you like it, just say it boldly, and dad will make the decision for you. Dad. Keely looked at Father Qi complainingly. Even if she was a child of Jianghu who dared to love and hate, she was still a girl after all. How could she say such embarrassing words? Big brother Xia is naturally very good, but he may not be able to look down on my daughter. Keely murmured in a barely audible voice. Daughter, what did you say? Father Qi asked in confusion. Nothing. Keely immediately pretended to be indifferent. Dad, don't mention this matter in front of big brother Xia. I still want to learn the nameless swordsmanship from him. What if you scare him away? He dares? Father Qi rolled his eyes and said dissatisfiedly. Dad, even if he breaks his promise and doesn't teach us swordsmanship, what can you do to him? In terms of martial arts, you can't beat him. In terms of sects, our EQ sect can't compare to Changhang escort agency. Keely mercilessly pierced through the stubbornness of Qi's father. After being squeezed by his daughter's words, Qi's father immediately reacted. That's the truth. He clapped his hands and thought secretly in his heart. So, that kid is still a good man who values love and friendship. Brother Xia is of course a good man. Keely said silently in her heart. For a moment, her eyes began to empty again. She didn't know what happy things she thought of, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Xia Changqing, who had returned home, of course didn't know that he had become a narcissist in the hearts of girls. He silently aroused the feelings of a little girl. A girl's love is always a poem. Xia Changqing looked at Xiao Wu, who had been waiting at the door for a long time, and went straight forward to open the gate. Have you been waiting here for a long time? Master, I just got here too, not long ago. Xia Changqing glanced at Xiao Wu. The boy was already freezing, and his nose was running. He said he just got here. How could he look like this if he hadn't been freezing outside for a long time? I told you not to call me master. Forget it. Call me whatever you want. Xia Changqing paused for a moment. He knew that, even if he said that, he couldn't change the mind of this stubborn boy, so he just let it go. You don't have to wait for me so early in the future. I still have some things to do after I leave the escort agency. After thinking about it, Xia Changqing still reminded her. Even with Keely's qualifications, it would definitely take a long time to completely learn the nameless sword technique. Yes, I know, master. Xiao Wu agreed cautiously. Come in. Xia Changqing opened the gate and took Xiao Wu into the yard and came under the jujube tree. Come, practice a set of boxing with me first, and you won't feel cold after that. Xia Changqing wanted to teach Xiao Wu the wild bull boxing that he had just obtained. He had already found time to memorize all the moves in the secret book. What remained was to master these moves, and more importantly, to understand the meaning of anticipating the enemy and taking the initiative. Yes, master. Xiao Wu shouted excitedly. He could finally learn the boxing he had always dreamed of. Xia Changqing ignored the excited Xiao Wu. He stood alone under the jujube tree with his eyes closed and went through all the moves of the wild bull boxing in his mind. In Xiao Wu's puzzled eyes, Xia Changqing suddenly moved, and a set of very slow boxing, like a child's boxing, slowly unfolded. Can this also be called boxing? Xiao Wu was full of doubts. The boxing that Xia Changqing was doing now seemed to be better than even a street thug. However, this boxing method was simple and easy to understand, and there was no difficulty. Even Xiao Wu, who had no foundation, could learn it in a similar way. No one was talking in the yard, only the sound of fists. Xia Changqing was completely immersed in the essence of Wild Bull Fist. In the annotation of the system panel, the level of Wild Bull Fist was increasing rapidly. Wild Bull Fist is not strictly speaking a boxing style. Wild Bull Fist can have moves or not. The so-called no moves are better than moves. This is the truth. My boxing style has no moves, so you have no way to break my punching routine. Xia Changqing's punching speed, from the beginning, was like a toddler's toddling, until the shadow of the fist was thrown, reflecting Xiao Wu's shocked eyes. He had long been unable to keep up with Xia Changqing's punching rhythm, or in other words, Xiao Wu could not even see Xia Changqing's fist, only the shadow of the fist was everywhere. Xiao Wu felt a sense of self-blame in his heart. He had just been secretly blaming Xia Changqing for not teaching him advanced boxing. It turned out that what his master taught him was advanced boxing, but it was a pity that he did not have the ability to learn it. After a long time, Xia Changqing closed his fist and stood up, slowly exhaling. The breath was like an arrow, and it hit the jujube tree as fast as lightning, shaking the whole tree. This also scared Xiao Wu, and at the same time, his heart was burning. His master's breath had such power, and he didn't know when he could reach the level of his master. Xia Changqing calmed down, looked back at Xiao Wu, with a hint of satisfaction in his eyes. He had already got a glimpse of the wild bull boxing. This boxing method, that contains the ultimate truth of boxing, like Dugun 9 swords and Teikai boxing and sword, requires extraordinary understanding to understand the mystery. Just like Zhang Wuji learned Teikai, just by watching Zhang Sanfeng perform Teikai 3 times. When people around him laughed at Zhang Wuji for not being able to remember such a slow and powerless boxing method, Zhang Wuji had already understood the hidden secrets of Teikai. This is the importance of understanding. Xia Changqing didn't know how high his comprehension was, but he had the plug-in and the system, so he was so arrogant. After getting a glimpse of the wild bull boxing, Xia Changqing also understood why the wild bull door had declined to this extent. Chapter 212 Mission. The comprehension required for wild bull fist is too high. If the comprehension is not enough, you can only learn the basics of wild bull fist, and the final result is the same as the boxing of street thugs. And a person with high comprehension is rare. If there are such people, they are all recruited by those famous sects. Wild Bull Gate cannot recruit talents, and they are not an organization of the nature of the underworld. After all, they are all a martial arts sect, so it is normal for each generation to decline. The idea of Kileodad relying on Xia Changqing to promote Wild Bull Gate is simply like a castle in the air, which is out of reach. After all, Xia Changqing can have a high comprehension and learn Wild Bull Fist, but it does not mean that he can receive disciples with the same comprehension as him. Just like Xiao Wu, in Xia Changqing's eyes, although this child is very hardworking and is also seriously implementing all the knowledge taught by Xia Changqing, his understanding of Wild Bull Fist has always remained on the surface. The Wild Bull Fist, which was originally unpredictable, has become a very ordinary boxing in Xiao Wu's hands. With this kind of boxing, it is possible to make a living in the east of Luoyang City, but if the place is expanded to the whole Luoyang City, this kind of boxing is far from enough. Xia Changqing was not disappointed. He did not have much hope in the first place, so naturally there was no reason to be disappointed. For the boxing of Wild Bull boxing, the most important thing is to rely on comprehension. If the comprehension is not enough, even if you study for a lifetime, you will not achieve it. Father Qi is a good example. So after discovering that Xiao Wu was not suitable for Wild Bull boxing, Xia Changqing changed his teaching method. He no longer taught Wild Bull boxing, but taught Xiao Wu another boxing method. After Xiao Wu mastered this boxing method, Xia Changqing would also consider teaching him some swordsmanship. Boxing alone is not enough in Luoyang City. After sending Xiao Wu away, Xia Changqing replaced sleep with cultivation in his daily life. Life began to fall into dullness. During the day, Xia Changqing went to Changhang Escort Agency to learn about escort experience, and then in the evening he went to teach the father and daughter of the Qi family the nameless swordsmanship. After returning home from the baseball game, I still have to teach Xiao Wu. Xia Changqing had no time to care about other things because of his fulfilling life, but his understanding of baseball boxing was also increasing rapidly. Until this day, Feng Biaotao looked at Xia Changqing with emotion. Those scholars have a good saying, reading 10,000 books is not as good as traveling 10,000 miles. Although I don't like those scholars, I still agree with this truth. You have been following me to learn for a while. Right now, there is a shipment of goods to be sent from Luoyang to Hangzhou City. The chief escort wants the young escort to lead the team, and you will also go with them. After being idle for such a long time, Xia Changqing just had the thought of doing something. If the chief escort doesn't arrange it, I also have this idea. I can't just take the monthly salary without working, Xia Changqing said with a smile. Seeing Xia Changqing's state, Feng Biaotao also smiled with satisfaction. He said earnestly, Changqing, this is a good opportunity. You follow the young escort leader, watch more, talk less and do more. When you accumulate some experience, the chief escort leader will arrange for you to lead a team alone. Feng Biaotao, don't worry. Anyway, I have to thank you for your teaching during this period of time. Alas. Feng Biaotao waved his hand with a smile. I didn't teach you much. Besides, you were recruited into the escort agency by me. If I don't support you, who else will support you? Xia Changqing could naturally feel Feng Biaotao's closeness. No matter what Feng Biaotao had in mind, at least now it seems that he has no ill will towards him. Xia Changqing clasped his fists towards Feng Biaotao and nodded gratefully. Everything is self-evident. Then Xia Changqing said goodbye to Feng Biaotao and began to prepare for Hangzhou. Luoyang is a long way from Hangzhou, and Xia Changqing needs to make more preparations. Before he could leave the Changhang escort agency, he was stopped by Guan Wei. The young escort leader was in high spirits and stopped in front of Xia Changqing with a smile on his face. I have good news to tell you. Guess what it is? Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei with empty eyes. Although he didn't want to cooperate with him in playing such a boring trick, he still said honestly, are you going to treat me to a drink tonight? Bah. Don't forget, you still owe me a drink. Even if it's a drink, it's you who treats me. The young escort leader frowned and glared at Xia Changqing. Oh. Xia Changqing said weakly, his eyebrows raised, pretending to be in deep thought. If you don't treat me to a drink, I really can't think of any good news. Guess again. Guan Wei urged. Seeing the young escort leader's anxious look, Xia Changqing chuckled. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Actually, I already know. Aren't I just going to Hangzhou with you to escort the escort? Ah. Guan Wei sighed disappointedly. You know everything. Then you were teasing me just now. After that, Guan Wei stared at Xia Changqing very unwillingly. Tell me, who told you this news? And did you get my consent? Haha. Xia Changqing sneered and looked at Guan Wei with ill intentions. Don't you think about it, in the entire Changhang escort agency, who else can tell me this news besides you? Guan Wei was stunned. He was not a stupid man. He immediately figured out the key. Guan Wei immediately became depressed and said weakly, Uncle Feng is the same. How can you be so quick-witted? If you have the guts, just tell this to Feng the escort leader in person. What's the point of complaining to me here? Guan Wei certainly didn't dare. Last time, he had been locked up in the escort agency for half a month by his father for taking Xia Changqing out for a drink, which made him feel very depressed. Now that he finally had the opportunity to escort to Hangzhou, he would not be so stupid as to make himself uncomfortable. Let's not talk about those disappointing things. After we leave Luoyang, there will be plenty of opportunities to be cool. You should get ready quickly. We will set off tomorrow morning. After sending Guan Wei away, Xia Changqing first came to the baseball field and told the father and daughter of the Qi family about the escort. During this period of time, Qi Li's mastery of the nameless swordsmanship has also been quite good, so Xia Changqing doesn't need to take care of her all the time. Qi Li was very worried about Xia Changqing's long journey and said a lot of things to make Xia Changqing careful on the road. The beauty's kindness was great, but it was not what Xia Changqing wanted. He also wanted to take this opportunity to let Qi Li calm down. He was destined to be a playboy and would never stay in a world for any woman. Chapter 213 Escort. After bidding farewell to the father and daughter of the Qi family, Xia Changqing turned around and left without any nostalgia. Later, Xia Changqing also told Xiao Wu about this matter. Everything went smoothly, and in a blink of an eye, it was the morning of the next day. At the door of Changhang Escort Agency, 3 carts of goods were packed full and tied tightly to the carriage. Xia Changqing did not ask what the goods were, which should be what Guan Wei should care about. Of course, when he really leads the team to escort alone, he also needs to know the specific list of goods, so that he can hand over all the goods to the recipient intact, after reaching the destination, and will not be defrauded by the other party. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei are both riding on horses. Around the carriage full of goods are 10 porters of Changhang Escort Agency. This is the treatment of escorts. Porters can only rely on a pair of legs to walk to Hangzhou little by little, while Xia Changqing and Guan Wei can ride on horses. Of course, these porters are all good guys, and they have the physical fitness. To be honest, if Xia Changqing had not become a bodyguard directly, he would not have started as a porter. Let's go. Guan Wei took the lead, and with a shout, the whole team started very efficiently. In just a few moments, they left the scope of Luoyang City. Although it was his first time to escort, Xia Changqing did not feel nervous at all. He had seen all kinds of storms and waves. It was just escorting a caravan, which was not worth his nervousness. So after setting off, he sat upright on the horse, closed his eyes, and started to play baseball in his mind. The days of traveling were very boring. Not long after leaving Luoyang City, Guan Wei could not stay on the horse. He looked at Xia Changqing, who was as still as a mountain, and could not help but harass him. Hey, I say, you didn't fall asleep on the horse, did you? Looking at Xia Changqing with his eyes closed, his body rising and falling with the horse steps, and standing still, Guan Wei felt a sense of admiration in his heart. If you can really fall asleep on the horse, it is also a skill. In the past, when Guan Wei was escorting, no one could talk. Every day, he just kept his head down and rushed on the road. Only when he reached the destination could he really relax. This boring journey is enough to drive people crazy. Xia Changqing slowly opened his eyes and glared at Guan Wei unhappily. Do you have the ability to fall asleep on horseback? Please, teach me too. Hey, I'm still thinking about learning from you. Guan Wei pouted in boredom. Don't be silent. Let's chat for a while. Otherwise it won't be too boring. I think you are just idle. Otherwise you can go walk with the porters. I don't think you will still be in the mood to think about it. Xia Changqing gave him an earnest suggestion. Guan Wei shut up now. He couldn't bear this hardship. Although it was also very hard and tiring to practice martial arts, he could certainly stick to walking. But now that he has left Luoyang City, he is not a cheap man, so he won't breathe and abuse himself. It's a pity that Guan Wei's silence did not last for a few minutes, and he couldn't help but look at Xia Changqing again. I say, this is your first time escorting, right? Have you ever traveled far before? Why do I feel that you are not nervous at all? Guan Wei asked very curiously. He remembered that, when he first escorted, he was excited for 2 or 3 days before he succumbed to the boring life of rushing on the road. There is nothing to be nervous about, Xia Changqing said lightly. Then aren't you excited? Guan Wei continued to ask. Hearing this, Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei strangely. Why should I be excited? I have lived in Luoyang City for many years. I can finally see other places to take a look. Isn't this worth getting excited about? Well, I'm a little excited. Listening to Xia Changqing's extremely calm tone, Guan Wei looked a little sad and angry. I suspect you are perfunctory to me. No doubt, I'm perfunctory to you. Xia Changqing thought unhappily that such a good time was wasted in boring conversations. How could he give Guan Wei a good face? As Guan Wei chattered, the escort agency's team moved forward. On the second day after leaving Luoyang, the escort agency ushered in the first test on the road of escorting. A group of bandits set up a roadblock on the road that the escort agency must pass. When Xia Changqing and his group just approached and found that the road ahead was blocked, it was too late to take a detour. Hey, this road is opened by me, and this tree is planted by me. If you want to pass through here, leave money to buy your way through. Xia Changqing almost laughed out loud. He didn't expect that a bandit would actually say such a famous saying. However, while laughing, Xia Changqing did not forget to put his hand on the hilt of the sword, and his eyes were already looking at Guan Wei. I wonder what choice Guan Wei would make in this situation. The situation in front of them is very simple and clear. The number of people on the bandits' side is twice that of their escort agency. The road behind them is also blocked, and they have no way to retreat. But the third boss is in person. I'm Guan Wei from Changhang Escort Agency. Just after the bandit leader who was blocking the road in front of him just finished shouting the slogan, Guan Wei bowed and shouted very enthusiastically. Xia Changqing's expression froze. Could it be that he had miscalculated that Guan Wei and the bandit leader in front of him knew each other? Ha ha ha. The leader of the robbers laughed coarsely and imitated Guan Wei. clasping his fists. So it's young escort Guan. It's really like a flood that has washed away the Dragon King temple. Family members don't recognize each other. I'm sorry to bother you, brother. Third master, what are you talking about? I'm on my way to Hangzhou this time and passed by here. I've prepared a small gift. I hope you will accept it. When I come back, I will go up the mountain in person to reward all the brothers. As Guan Wei spoke, he took out a purse from his arms and threw it to the leader of the robbers who blocked the road. The leader of the robbers weighed the purse in his hand and murmured, okay, guys, move the roadblocks and let young escort pass. Thank you very much, third master. With Guan Wei's smile in compliments, the robbers moved the roadblocks and let the people from Changhang Escort Agency pass smoothly. After the team walked away, Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei curiously. Young escort captain, do you know the bandit leader? Guan Wei sighed, and he said with a slightly vicissitudes of life, are you wondering how a famous and upright person like me can know a bandit leader? There is one thing you have to remember, the bandits are after money, and our escort agency is also after money. So I not only know the bandit leader just now, but I also know all the bandits around Luoyang. Bah, why are you pretending to be profound? If you say you know the bandits around here, that's because of the face of your father, Chief Escort Guan. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Chapter 214. The future is promising. This world is not black and white. It should be said that no matter whether it is black or white, such people are rare, and most people are in the gray area. Just like Changhang Escort Agency, it seems to be a righteous force, but they can also cooperate with the bandits of Hefeng village and pay tribute on time in exchange for the stability of each escort. For Hefeng village, it is better to accept the tribute of the escort agency with peace of mind, rather than licking blood on the blade, risking injury or even death, and fighting with the people of the escort agency. Xia Changqing is not a rookie in the world of martial arts, and he has no opinion on this phenomenon. This is the real world of martial arts. After a trip of escort, Xia Changqing didn't even draw his sword, and they arrived in Hangzhou city smoothly. Then Guan Wei went to hand over the goods to the consignee, and other porters could stay in Hangzhou city for 2 days. During this period, Guan Wei would also look for escort items that could be returned to Luoyang on the way. It would be too wasteful to return to Luoyang empty-handed. However, Changhang Escort Agency was unfamiliar with Hangzhou city, and it was very difficult to receive the escort in such a short time. Xia Changqing and others did not have the time to stay in Hangzhou city for too long, so after waiting for 2 days, the escort agency set off again and returned to Luoyang city. The way here was smooth, and on the way back, they did not escort any escorts, so there would be no blind robbers to harass them. They went all the way back to Luoyang and returned to Changhang Escort Agency in the morning of the first day. After knowing that Xia Changqing had returned to the escort agency, escort leader Feng rushed over as soon as possible to show his concern for this junior. Changqing, how does it feel to escort? Do you have any feelings? Escort leader Feng asked Xia Changqing about his feelings like a kind elder. You can tell me any questions you have. I will answer them for you if I can. To be honest, Feng, I don't feel anything. Everything is calm. Even if there are blind people who intercept us, they are all dealt with by the young escort. As for me, I just follow the team leisurely and do nothing. That's good. That's good. You have a good attitude. This is how the escort is. As long as we deliver the goods to the destination safely, everything will be fine. The chief escort has also been arranged. You don't have to stay in the escort agency today. Go back and have a rest, and come back tomorrow. After saying that, Feng suddenly thought of something, and took out a purse from his bosom, and handed it to Xia Changqing. The escort agency gives you a hard work fee, but it's not much. After all, this is your first time to escort. When you lead a team alone in the future, the hard work fee will be much. Xia Changqing did not refuse. After receiving the purse, he said goodbye and left. Unexpectedly, when he went out, he met Guan Wei standing at the door to block him. What's the matter? Tell me quickly. If it's nothing, I have to go back and rest. Xia Changqing said bluntly. Guan Wei leaned against the door frame, listening to Xia Changqing's tone, and said with a sad face, am I so unpopular with you? Do you want to go see Qi Li? That's right. Beauty is very kind. You have been away for such a long time. You must go to see her first. When you come back. Xia Changqing shuddered for no reason. He said unhappily, "What the hell are you doing? Don't talk to me in such a disgusting tone. If you have something to say, say it. If not, get out of the way." Yes, yes, yes. Guan Wei watched Xia Changqing raise his foot to leave. He hurriedly stopped in front of him. "Of course I have something to do. Let's go. Let's go to the restaurant for a drink." After speaking, Guan Wei immediately followed up with a sentence, "I'll treat. I won't go. Even if you treat me. Then you treat. You still owe me a drink. Then I won't go. Stop talking nonsense. Let's go. Just in time for lunch." Guan Wei didn't wait for Xia Changqing to refuse. He directly pulled him towards the restaurant and began to act pitiful on the way. "Changqing, you don't know. I'm lonely in the escort agency. Although there are some people of the same age, they are all escorts in the escort agency. They can't let go in front of me, so I don't even have a friend." Guan Wei sighed and fell silent. Xia Changqing also fell into silence. He could hear that Guan Wei's words were sincere and heartfelt. But Xia Changqing was powerless to change this matter. Maybe Guan Wei really regarded him as a friend in his heart, but Xia Changqing didn't know how long he could stay in this world. However, cherish the present. Arriving in a world and making a friend is also worthwhile. Xia Changqing followed Guan Wei to the restaurant. At the invitation of the waiter, he went up to the second floor of the restaurant. Xia Changqing stepped over the stairs and came to the second floor with Guan Wei. At first glance, he saw two people sitting in the corner. They were two young men. One had a handsome face and his clothes were gorgeous and expensive. He was a handsome young man, a hero in the rivers and lakes, and people felt close to him at a glance. The other person was also a young man, but his face was still a little immature, and he looked around with a little curiosity. He was a rookie who had just started out. "Brother Danfang, after this tour, how do you feel about Luoyang?" "Luoyang is really too big, much bigger than my hometown, and there is a statue of Senior Xiao's army here. I want to live in Luoyang City in the future." The conversation between the two people was clearly heard by Xia Changqing, which made him have a vague guess in his heart. Thinking of this, Xia Changqing pulled Guan Wei and led him to the location of the two young men. Before Guan Wei could ask the question, Xia Changqing had already come close. The two men also stopped talking and cast doubtful eyes over. "What can I do for you, brother?" Xia Changqing clasped his fists and said, "May I ask if you are Gu Yuxun, the young master of Xiaoyao Valley?" A flash of realization flashed in Gu Yuxun's eyes. "So you know me, I'm Gu Yuxun." After getting a positive answer, Xia Changqing's eyes turned to the man next to Gu Yuxun, and the identity of this man was self-evident. Luoyang City, Gu Yuxun, a young face, a rookie who has just started out. Putting these factors together, it is easy to conclude that the man in front of you is Danfang Weiming. Who would have thought that this young man who looked like a rookie not only idolized Xiao's army, but also eventually did what Xiao's army did. With his own strength, he stirred up the entire martial arts world. For good, he is the future leader of the martial arts world, and for evil, he can also suppress the entire martial arts world with force. Danfang Weiming has a promising future. Chapter 215, Free and Easy. Xia Changqing certainly had no intention of clinging to Danfang Weiming. No matter how high Danfang Weiming's achievements would be in the future, he was just a young man who had just arrived in Luoyang City. Not to mention that Xia Changqing could leave this world at any time. Xia Changqing's belief that Danfang Weiming had a promising future was just his inherent impression. The future was unknowable, and no one knew what Danfang Weiming would be like in the future. It was not impossible for him to become a beggar. Therefore, the idea of clinging to someone's thigh was simply a fabrication. Compared to the current Danfang Weiming, Gu Yuxun was more worthy of Xia Changqing's attention. Not only Xia Changqing had heard of Gu Yuxun's reputation, but even Guan Wei, who was pulled over by him, was surprised when he heard the name of Gu Yuxun from Xiaoyao Valley, and hurried forward to make friends. "Brother Gu, it's worth the trip to see his true face today. Changqing, did you see how wise it was for me to bring you to the restaurant? Otherwise, would you have been able to see young Master Gu?" No wonder Guan Wei was so excited. Although Zioyao Valley had few disciples, it was an elite sect. Not to mention that the owner of Zioyao Valley, Wu Xiaozi, was ranked in the top 5 in martial arts in the entire martial arts world. Gu Yuxuan alone could also be ranked among the top in the younger generation of the martial arts world. There was nothing wrong with Gu Yuxuan being the first among the younger generation of the major martial arts sects. Now Guan Wei had met the first person of his generation. If he didn't make friends with him wholeheartedly, his father would definitely break his legs when he found out. Although Changhang Escort Agency had a place in the entire Luoyang, it was nothing compared to Zioyao Valley. Fortunately, Gu Yuxuan was not a person who was arrogant because of his status. He was humble and polite, more like a Confucian scholar than a person in the martial arts world. "I have not asked for your names yet," Gu Yuxuan replied. Guan Wei immediately became excited. "I'm Guan Wei from Changhang Escort Agency, and the person next to me is Xia Changqing from Changhang Escort Agency. So you are the young escort chief Guan. I have heard of your name for a long time," Gu Yuxuan said with sudden realization. Zioyao Valley is located next to Luoyang City, and he has naturally heard of Changhang Escort Agency. Gu Yuxuan also knows the young escort chief Guan Wei, but he has never met him. Then Gu Yuxuan turned to Xia Changqing. "Brother Xia, you can recognize me at a glance, which shows that we are very predestined. Let me introduce you to. The one next to me is brother Dan Fang Weiming, who is also a friend I just met. If you two don't mind, we can sit at the same table. How about it?" "Of course I won't mind." Guan Wei agreed immediately, pulled Xia Changqing to sit down, and then immediately greeted, "Waiter, bring all the good wine and food. This meal is on my head. Brother Gu, brother Dan Fang, don't refuse. After all, Luoyang City is my home court. This meal should be treated by me." Gu Yuxuan and Dan Fang Weiming were not hypocritical people, so they agreed immediately. The four began to talk about everything. Dan Fang Weiming looked at Guan Wei and Xia Changqing with envy, saying that they were able to see the statue of senior Xiao Zami since they were young, which was really too lucky. Dan Fang Weiming is indeed a diehard fan of Xiao Zami, and he talks about Xiao Zami every 3 sentences. Gu Yuxuan was also responding to the conversation. Although Gu Yuxuan looked mature and steady, Xia Changqing could tell from the expression on his face that Gu Yuxuan, like Dan Fang Weiming, admired Xiao Zami. Among the 4 people present, only Guan Wei was a local in Luoyang, and was most familiar with Xiao Zami. He talked freely and often attracted Gu Yuxuan and Dan Fang Weiming's admiration. During this period, Xia Changqing also inquired about Dan Fang Weiming's background without leaving any trace. To be honest, Xia Changqing was very curious about this. When Dan Fang Weiming mentioned this question, he looked a little depressed. According to him, he was an orphan since he was a child. He relied on the help of the villagers in the village to grow up to this age. Dan Fang Weiming, who grew up eating at the homes of hundreds of people, promised to make a name for himself and then repay the villagers. Gu Yuxuan and Guan Wei cheered in unison. A good man should be like this. A drop of water should be returned with a spring of gratitude. Brother Dan Fang, if you don't mind, you can come to my Changhang Escort Agency. Although our Changhang Escort Agency cannot compare with Brother Gu's Zioyao Valley, it is also one of the 3 major forces in Luoyang City. And there are special escort leaders in our escort agency to teach martial arts. Even if you don't want to learn these superficial martial arts, there are still ways. Young escort leader Guan waved his hands heroically, patted his chest, and said with great promises, not to mention others, "My brother Xia is a master of masters of masters. In the entire escort agency, even my father can only tie with him." In a blink of an eye, Guan Wei sold out Xia Changqing completely. I don't know if Guan Wei was drunk or what, but he was just spitting out promises without asking for money. Dan Fang Weiming had no doubts about Guan Wei's words. He looked at Xia Changqing with shining eyes. Learning martial arts has become Dan Fang Weiming's obsession. Brother Xia, no, Master Xia, whether you accept a disciple or not, as long as you nod, I will kneel down and kowtow to you. Xia Changqing glared at Guan Wei speechlessly and quickly stopped Dan Fang Weiming, who was about to take action. Brother Dan Fang, don't listen to Guan Wei's nonsense. My martial arts skills are nothing. I won't mention others. I will just say that among all of us present, Brother Gu's martial arts are much better than mine. After Xia Changqing finished speaking, Dan Fang Weiming cast his shining eyes at Gu Yuxian again. This frightened Gu Yuxian so much that he waved his hands repeatedly. That won't do. I haven't even mastered my own martial arts yet. How can I possibly accept a disciple? Even if I do, that's my master's business. At this point, Gu Yuxian suddenly had an idea and exclaimed in surprise, yes, I can ask my master. Maybe my master will agree to accept you as his disciple. In this case, Brother Dan Fang, we will be brothers. You have to call me Big Brother in the future. Gu Yuxian seemed to have anticipated this scene, and he laughed happily. Dan Fang Weiming also laughed in agreement, calling him Big Brother on the left and Big Brother on the right. Did he seem to have brought Dan Fang Weiming back to the original track? Xia Changqing thought secretly that he didn't know what Dan Fang would become in the future if he entered Changhang Escort Agency. With that in mind, it would be better to let Gu Yuxian take Dan Fang Weiming back to Xiaoyao Valley. But Guan Wei was a little unhappy. Chapter 216 Poisoning. Regardless of whether Xia Changqing was being modest or not, it was Guan Wei who first proposed that Dan Fang Weiming join the Changhang Escort Agency. Even if Dan Fang Weiming disagreed, he couldn't just turn around and join Xiaoyao Valley. Guan Wei wouldn't have had this idea at ordinary times, but at this time he had drunk too much, so he didn't hide what was in his mind anymore and just said it directly. Brother Dan Fang, what do you mean by this? Do you look down on our Changhang Escort Agency? Although Senior Wuxiazi of Xiaoyao Valley is very powerful, our Changhang Escort Agency is not bad either. Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei's unreasonable drunkenness and didn't know how to dissuade him. Although Dan Fang Weiming's future achievements are great, he also has a lot of troubles. Dan Fang Weiming is destined not to be a person who can live a stable life. If he really joins the Changhang Escort Agency, it is still unknown whether it will be a blessing or a curse for the escort agency. Of course, Xia Changqing also knew that this was because Guan Wei drank too much, so he didn't take it to heart. Before Dan Fang Weiming could speak, he dissuaded him. Young escort, whether you admit it or not, the martial arts of Xiaoyao Valley are stronger than those of our Changhang Escort Agency. Guan Wei blushed, and he didn't say against his will that Changhang Escort Agency was stronger than Xiaoyao Valley. Seeing Guan Wei's tacit attitude, Xia Changqing ignored him and continued, if Brother Dan Fang can really be accepted as a disciple by Senior Wuxiazi, this is his good fortune. Do you want to block his good fortune? I didn't say that. Besides, I won't do that. Guan Wei muttered softly. He had figured it out, and there was some apology in his eyes when he looked at Dan Fang Weiming. Brother Dan Fang, please don't misunderstand me. I don't mean to block your future. Dan Fang Weiming said immediately. Young escort leader, please don't say that. I don't think Brother Xia means that either. It's minor that you can invite me to join Changhang Escort Agency. If Senior Wuxiazi doesn't accept me as his apprentice, I will come to you. Don't despise me when the time comes. How is that possible? Guan Wei laughed. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded, interrupting Guan Wei's words. What a joke. A young boy also dreams of becoming a disciple of Xiaoyao Valley. Xia Changqing and the other four were shocked. They thought that the voice they were talking was not loud and should not be heard. Where did this voice come from to respond to them? Moreover, this person's voice was cold and harsh, and one could hear a strong sense of ill intentions from it. Who? Gu Yuxian shouted coldly. Since it was related to Xiaoyao Valley, he, the eldest disciple, naturally had to fight. As Gu Yuxian shouted coldly, footsteps sounded on the stairs of the restaurant, and a middle-aged sinister man slowly appeared on the second floor. Gu Yuxian, why don't you come to greet me, your uncle? The middle-aged man said with a fake smile. This man was the traitor of Xiaoyao Valley, the junior brother of the head of the sect Wuxiazi, and the uncle of Gu Yuxian, Zuan Mingzi. Zuan Mingzi? Gu Yuxian's face changed drastically. He stood up from the chair and looked at the newcomer vigilantly. Zuan Mingzi, how dare you show up in Luoyang? Aren't you afraid that my master will catch you? Ha ha ha. Zuan Mingzi laughed wantonly. If that older mortal Wuxiazi can really catch me, let him come. but boy, it's still unclear whether you can escape from my hands today. While the two were talking, Xia Changqing and Guan Wei also stood up and looked at Zhuan Mingzi warily. At this time, Xia Changqing was quite annoyed. How could he forget this matter? When Dongfang Weiming and Gu Yuxuan met in Luoyang City, they met Zhuan Mingzi. Before that, he did not make any preparations. If it is just about martial arts, Xia Changqing is not afraid of Zhuan Mingzi, but the scary thing about Zhuan Mingzi is not martial arts, but his superb ability to use poison. Brother Gu, isn't this your uncle? Why should I listen to him and do something bad to you? Dongfang Weiming was the only one present who still looked confused. He asked Gu Yuxuan with a puzzled look on his face. In order to let Dongfang Weiming understand the relationship between the two, Gu Yuxuan had to whisper, "My uncle has long betrayed Xiaoyao Valley, and now he has joined the Xianlang sect. He has nothing to do with our Xiaoyao Valley." Xianlang sect? Dongfang Weiming also had a vague understanding of the Xianlang sect. As a rookie, he didn't know much about the forces of good and evil in the world. However, Gu Yuxuan had no time to explain to Dongfang Weiming. He had already sensed the strange feeling coming from his body. "Oh no, we've been poisoned." Gu Yuxuan shouted with an unpleasant expression and immediately used his internal energy to try to stop the spread of the poison. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei looked at each other. They didn't dare to bet that Zhuan Mingzi would be generous enough not to poison them, so they immediately displayed their magical powers. As soon as the internal energy started to circulate in his body, Xia Changqing felt something was wrong. The slightly stagnant internal energy made Xia Changqing know at the first time that he was also poisoned. Without any hesitation, Xia Changqing used all the methods he could use, including internal energy and magic power. Dongfang Weiming, who had no martial arts skills, groaned, and a trace of blood slowly flowed from the corner of his mouth. He couldn't even stand steadily. Despicable. After seeing this scene, Gu Yuxuan shouted angrily and raised his palm to slap Zhuan Mingzi. Zhuan Mingzi chuckled, raised his palm to meet Gu Yuxuan, and fought with him. "Boy, if you concentrate on conditioning, you may be able to resist my poison. Now you dare to take the initiative to fight me. You are really looking for death," Zhuan Mingzi said coldly. Gu Yuxuan did not answer, but only focused on the enemy, slapping Zhuan Mingzi one palm after another. Zhuan Mingzi strolled leisurely, as if he was playing with Gu Yuxuan. It was called a fight, but it looked more like a one-sided play. Gu Yuxuan was not Zhuan Mingzi's opponent in the first place, not to mention that he was still poisoned. Before he could make 10 moves, he was hit by Zhuan Mingzi's palm, and blood spurted out of his mouth, as if it was free. The horrified Zhuan Mingzi was frightened, and quickly stepped back a few steps, giving Gu Yuxuan a chance to breathe. Gu Yuxuan did not expect that he was desperate, but he could not make Zhuan Mingzi step back. Now he just spit out a mouthful of blood, and Zhuan Mingzi stepped back a few steps like avoiding snakes and scorpions. Zhuan Mingzi dodged Gu Yuxuan's mouthful of blood, and brushed off the dust on his body with some disdain. "Boy, you are far from being able to fight with me. If your master came, it would be almost the same." Gu Yuxuan laughed, showing his heroic nature. "If my master really came, you would have been scared and ran away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 217. Repel the Enemy. When Gu Yuxuan and Zhuan Mingzi just started fighting, the shopkeeper and waiter of the restaurant realized that something was wrong and fled early. Maybe they reported to the police, but it was still uncertain whether the government would dare to intervene in this matter. Xia Changqing thought of Shigang's martial arts, which was only slightly better than Guan Wei's. If he really had the courage to intervene in this matter, Xia Changqing would have to look up to him. However, the crisis in front of him could not wait for help from the outside world. Zhuan Mingzi, who was ridiculed by Gu Yuxuan, was already a little angry. Since he rebelled against Xiaoyao Valley, the thing Zhuan Mingzi didn't want to hear the most was that he was not as good as Wuxiazi. Especially now that he was ridiculed by Wuxiazi's apprentice, Zhuan Mingzi was even more angry. He raised his right palm, and it was visible to the naked eye that a trace of pale green appeared on the palm. This was a sign that the poison skill had been practiced into the body, allowing Zhu and Mingzi to use the poison skill in the body at will. If this palm strikes, even if Gu Yuxian doesn't die, he will be seriously injured. However, the extremely tough young man Gu, regardless of the injuries in his body, took a deep breath, gathered his energy in his palm, and was about to meet it. At this moment, a hand pressed on Gu Yuxian's shoulder. Facing Zhu and Mingzi, Gu Yuxian, who dared not be distracted at all, glanced at the owner of the palm with the corner of his eye. "Brother Gu, you take care of yourself first, let me deal with him." Gu Yuxian was stunned. The person who spoke was Xia Changqing, who he had just met from Changhang Escort Agency. Just looking at his face was ruddy and his voice was clear. He didn't look like he was poisoned. Could it be that he was not poisoned? Gu Yuxian couldn't help but think, and before he could say the question in his heart, Zhu and Mingzi's poisonous palm was already in front of him. Xia Changqing gently pushed him away with his hand, and the whole person couldn't help but retreat to the back and sat on the bench. Then Gu Yuxian had time to look at the other two. Guan Wei sat cross-legged on the ground, his eyes closed tightly, his face was pale and blue, and he was obviously poisoned. Dongfang Weiming was even worse. He lay flat on the table, dark red blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, and he was about to die. Gu Yuxian couldn't help but feel anxious. Zhu and Mingzi came to trouble him specifically, and the other three were completely unprovoked. If something happened to Dongfang Weiming, he would be worried for the rest of his life. Bang! A muffled sound attracted Gu Yuxian's attention. He looked up and saw that Xia Changqing had already hit Zhu and Mingzi. Xia Changqing punched Zhu and Mingzi's palm, and the fist force went along Zhu and Mingzi's palm towards his body. Zhu and Mingzi's face changed, and he quickly retracted his palm. He looked at Xia Changqing's fist again, and unexpectedly found that the other party had no signs of poisoning. Zhu and Mingzi didn't know that in addition to martial arts, there was also magic in the world. How could Xia Changqing, such a cautious person, face Zhu and Mingzi's poisonous palm? Before that, he had already attached a layer of shadow on his palm to block the invasion of poison. Shaking his palm, Xia Changqing had been practicing the baseball fist for such a long time, but he didn't expect to have the opportunity to fight so soon. Xia Changqing clenched his fist again and rushed forward, punching Zhu and Mingzi's chest and abdomen with a simple straight punch. It was clearly a simple straight punch, but in Zhu and Mingzi's eyes, there was a feeling of being locked, and there was no way to dodge. This feeling was extremely uncomfortable, making Zhu and Mingzi have the urge to spit blood. A trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. Since he couldn't dodge, then he wouldn't dodge. The poisonous power in his body gathered between his palms, and Zhu and Mingzi's palm, which was the last to arrive, slapped Xia Changqing. A gust of evil wind blew, with a hint of fishy sweetness. Just a slight smell made Xia Changqing feel dizzy. He immediately held his breath and concentrated, his arm like a whip, hitting Zhu and Mingzi's hand, deflecting Zhu and Mingzi's palm wind. The evil wind blew past his face, and with a bang, it was imprinted on the table behind Xia Changqing, and a clear palm print emerged. What a strong palm power! Xia Changqing exclaimed sincerely, feeling happy, and he no longer held back, and used his wild bull punch to his heart's content. Fist shadows came one after another, and the simple boxing technique had a sense of decay and magic. Zhu and Mingzi hurriedly parried, but every time he wanted to fight back, he was always interrupted. This uncomfortable feeling gradually made Zhu and Mingzi want to retreat, and Xia Changqing was not interested in fighting. If he wasted more time, Dongfang Weiming and others would be poisoned more deeply. Bang! Xia Changqing punched Zhu and Mingzi in the chest and abdomen, causing Zhu and Mingzi to step back a few steps and groan. After taking a deep look at Xia Changqing, Zhu and Mingzi did not have any intention of saying anything harsh. He turned around and came to the window of the restaurant and turned around to look at Xia Changqing again, as if he wanted to remember Xia Changqing's appearance in his bones. Then Zhu and Mingzi spread his sleeves, flew out of the window, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Xia Changqing slowly exhaled, calmly watching Zhu and Mingzi go away, and then turned around and walked towards Gu Yuxian and others. Young Master Gu, how do you feel? Gu Yuxian slowly opened his eyes and looked at Xia Changqing with an extremely complicated look. Deep in his heart, he was very shocked that Xia Changqing's martial arts could be on par with Zhu and Mingzi, but now he had no time to care about these problems. Standing up from the ground, Gu Yuxian said very quickly, "Brother Xia, I'm fine, but Zhu and Mingzi's poison is not so easy to cure. So, I'll take Brother Danfang, and you take Master Guan, and we'll rush to Xiaoyao Valley as soon as possible to find my master." Okay. Xia Changqing agreed. He stepped forward to help Guan Wei up. Guan Xiaobiao Tao was now in a state of confusion. His face was blue, and he was almost talking nonsense. On the other side, Gu Yuxian also carried Danfang Weiming on his back. The two looked at each other, and Xia Changqing followed Gu Yuxian all the way to the outside of Luoyang City. Xiaoyao Valley is located outside Luoyang City, a remote place. If it weren't for Gu Yuxian leading the way, it would take a lot of effort to find the location of Xiaoyao Valley. However, with Gu Yuxian, the eldest disciple of Xiaoyao Valley, leading the way, the four of them arrived in Xiaoyao Valley in less than half an hour. "Master!" Gu Yuxian shouted as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the valley. "Master, come out and save us." Before he finished speaking, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Xia Changqing and others. "Master, we were poisoned by our uncle." Gu Yuxian immediately explained the current situation in one sentence. The immortal Wuxia's expression changed immediately, and he stepped forward, tapping Danfang Weiming and Guan Wei a few times. "Zuana, take them to the guest room first." Chapter 218, All Things Have Spirits. In the Xiaoyao Valley, where birds chirp and flowers bloom, several unfortunate people who were poisoned were arranged by Wuxiazi to stay in the guest room. After taking a detoxification pill, even Danfang Weiming, who was the most seriously poisoned, showed a very obvious improvement. Wuxiazi's strength is not only reflected in martial arts, but also in piano, chess, calligraphy and painting. His junior brother Zhuan Mingzi is a master of poison, and he is also a person with superb medical skills. Not to mention that in Wangayao village, which is adjacent to Xiaoyao Valley, there are also people like miracle doctors. As long as people have arrived in Xiaoyao Valley, it means that the poison is fine. Wuxiazi looked at Xia Changqing with strange eyes. He was very surprised that this young man did not need to take his detoxification pills and could detoxify Zhuan Mingzi's poison by himself. "My junior brother's poison is not ordinary. Brother, can you tell me how you detoxified yourself?" Xia Changqing curled his lips secretly. Even if he told him about magic, Wuxiazi would probably not believe it. "Senior, I can detoxify by myself, mainly because of my special internal strength." Xia Changqing thought of an excuse to explain. "I see. Who is your master?" As far as Wuxiazi knows, the most famous martial arts that can have the internal strength to detoxify is the Yijinjing of Shaolin Temple, but the Yijinjing is a secret of Shaolin Temple that ordinary people can't get it at all. "An unknown person," Xia Changqing said lightly. "My master is an unknown old man in the mountains, and even I don't know what his name is." "Well, the world is vast, and all kinds of strange people and things emerge in an endless stream. It seems that your master is a country expert who is indifferent to fame and fortune." Wuxiazi didn't delve into it too much. Everyone has secrets. He can see that Xia Changqing has no intention of saying more about this matter, so he immediately changed the subject. The other two friends need to rest for a while, so as not to let the poison enter the bone marrow and leave behind troubles. This means that Guan Wei and Danfang Weiming should stay here to recuperate. Xia Changqing naturally had no objection. Although Guan Wei was the young escort leader of Changhang Escort Agency, in terms of background, Changhang Escort Agency was not even worthy of being a shoe carrier for Xiaoyao Valley. So instead of taking Guan Wei back to the escort agency, it was better to leave him in Xiaoyao Valley. "Senior, I'll leave you with young escort leader Guan and young hero Danfang. When I return to Luoyang City, I'll tell chief escort leader Guan about what happened here first, so that he won't worry." "That's a matter of course." Wuxiazi agreed, then floated away and asked the servants in the valley to send Xia Changqing out of the valley. After returning to Luoyang City, Xia Changqing came to Changhang Escort Agency, found Guan Changhang and told him about Guan Wen's poisoning. After learning that it was Zuan Mingzi of the Xianlang sect who did it, Guan Changhang was furious and ordered a war with the Xianlang sect on the spot. The other escort leaders were so scared that they quickly stood up to stop them. The Xianlang sect was a behemoth, and how could Changhang escort agency be a match for the Xianlang sect? If a war really breaks out, whether they can cause damage to the Xianlang sect or not is not the first question, but their Changhang escort agency will definitely not have a good time. Guan Changhang also knew that this was just his angry words. After learning that Wuxiazi from Ziyao Valley treated Guan Wei, he was relieved. But this matter cannot be left alone. Although their Changhang escort agency is not powerful, it is definitely not a small sect that can be bullied by others. As long as there is a chance, Guan Changhang will definitely not mind taking a bite of the Xianlang sect. After reassuring Guan Changhang, Xia Changqing came to Ziyao Valley again. The first time he came with Gu Yuxun, he was anxious about the injuries of Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming, so he didn't have time to take a closer look. This time, Xia Changqing had time to observe Ziyao Valley carefully. Ziyao Valley is said to be a sect, but in fact it is more like a scenic tourist attraction, a good place to live in seclusion. Xia Changqing was moved for a moment. The identity of a bodyguard of Changhang escort agency was an identity that could be abandoned at will. He was already considering asking Wuxiazi if he could live in Ziyao Valley. When he saw Wuxiazi again, this old senior with a fairy-like appearance was fiddling with his flowers. "Senior Wuxiazi, you are in a good mood," Xia Changqing said. In fact, Wuxiazi had noticed Xia Changqing as early as when he stepped into the valley. "My friend, you are here. Come over and take a look at the flowers I raise." Wuxiazi greeted Xia Changqing, and then he began to hum an unknown tune. Xia Changqing suddenly thought of a rumor that, in order to make flowers thrive, they need to maintain a good mood, and singing to flowers can keep them in a good mood. Thinking of this, Xia Changqing's face was a little strange. He couldn't imagine that such a knowledgeable old senior like Wuxiazi would actually believe such a statement. "Do you still think that my approach looks stupid?" Even with his back to Xia Changqing, Wuxiazi seemed to know what he was thinking. Xia Changqing's mouth twitched for a moment, but he couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, "Senior, is your method really useful?" Wuxiazi hummed a song, his hands kept moving, and he watered the flowers one by one, before answering Xia Changqing's question. "Of course it is useful. All things have spirits, and plants naturally have their own thoughts. Only if you treat them with your heart can they bloom the most beautiful flowers to show you." Wuxiazi smiled and stroked his beard with his palm, saying as a matter of course. Xia Changqing was thoughtful. He still agreed with the saying that all things have spirits. After all, he was also a person who had experienced the fantasy world and had seen various species different from humans. It's just that in this world, it is impossible for intelligent life different from humans to evolve. Maybe he can play a role in this. Xia Changqing thought so, and then he walked to Wuxiazi's side, bent down very naturally, and gently stroked the flowers that bloomed out of season. A trace of magic penetrated into his fingertips silently, a force completely different from the internal force. Even with Wuxiazi's keenness, he could not detect Xia Changqing's little action. Xia Changqing smiled secretly, wondering if his little trick could bring something different to the world. "Senior, maybe it's just like you said, it's because of your careful care that these flowers can bloom together in this season." Xia Changqing praised sincerely. It can be seen that this small garden has been carefully taken care of. The varieties of flowers are also extremely rich. Even Xia Changqing did not recognize all of them. Chapter 219 Drunkard. Wuxiazi was very happy, so happy that he wanted to cook for Xia Changqing himself. This was a feeling of recognition. For Wuxiazi, he was very different from Zuan Mingzi. Zuan Mingzi was keen on martial arts and wanted to dominate the martial arts world. He had great ambitions, so he rebelled against Ziyao Valley and joined the equally ambitious Xianlang sect. For Wuxiazi, compared with martial arts, he was more interested in piano, chess, calligraphy and painting, and of course, cooking. Wuxiazi's cooking skills were also unique. Just because Xia Changqing agreed, he decided to cook for him himself. This was something that even Wuxia's apprentices Gu Yuxian and Jingji could hardly enjoy. It was because neither Gu Yuxian nor Jingji was interested in piano, chess, calligraphy and painting. Although the two of them learned some things under Wuxia's coercion, Wuxia could clearly feel that his two apprentices did not like these. And now, Wuxia could clearly feel that Xia Changqing was sincerely praising the flowers in the garden. Gu Yuxian sat next to Xia Changqing with an unusually strange look on his face. He finally couldn't bear his curiosity and carefully leaned into Xia Changqing's ear. "What did you do to my master that made him happy to cook for him?" Xia Changqing looked extremely innocent. He pretended to be puzzled. "I don't know why. In the afternoon, we were in the senior's garden and discussed about how to grow flowers." After Xia Changqing finished speaking, Gu Yuxian looked at him with an even more strange look. "Are you sure you didn't say anything wrong? My god, you are so young. Why are you interested in growing flowers?" Gu Yuxian looked at Xia Changqing as if he was looking at a freak. Which young person likes to grow flowers? You can see it now. Xia Changqing said unusually calmly. "Well, you are awesome." Gu Yuxian gritted his teeth and said, "I can't do this kind of thing, even if I have to go against my conscience. It's good this way. My master is easy to talk to. If you cater to his preferences, maybe he will teach you a few tricks when he is in a good mood." "Gu Yuxian, are you saying bad things about your master?" Wuxia's faint voice suddenly sounded, making Gu Yuxian immediately return to his proper posture and dare not whisper to Xia Changqing anymore. At this time, Wuxia had already served the last dish. There were not many dishes, 4 dishes and 1 soup. After all, there were only 4 of them to eat. Wuxia, Gu Yuxian, plus Xia Changqing and the old servant. Xia Valley has few people, including the master, disciples, and servants. There are only 4 people in total. Wuxia's second disciple Jingji was out on business and was not in the valley, so when Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming were still poisoned and could not eat, there were only 4 of them. But tonight is destined to be a lively night. Before the 4 people had time to pick up their chopsticks, a voice came from outside. "What a delicious smell." As he was talking, an old man rushed into the house. This man was obviously a frequent visitor to Xia Valley. After he came in, he didn't say hello to Wuxia. He found a seat and sat down by himself, and his nose kept sniffing the aroma of the food. "Wuxia, is this the dish you cooked? What day is today? I actually caught up with this good time. Oh, what a blessing." The man wore a round hat, rugged clothes, a thick beard, white hair and beard, and a wine gourd hanging around his waist. "Old drunkard, your nose is really like a dog's. You can smell this," Wuxia said jokingly. This almost sarcastic remark did not cause dissatisfaction among the visitors. He looked indifferent and only cared about when the wine would come. How can such a good dish not be paired with good wine? "Old Wuxia, don't be stingy. If you have good wine, take it out. You old drunkard, you really can't live without wine." Wuxia shook his head helplessly, then he turned to look at Gu Yuxian. "Zuana, go and get a can of Dukang wine from my collection." Gu Yuxian took the order and left. Wuxia then introduced the identity of the visitor to Xia Changqing. "Xiao, this is an old drunkard. You can just call him a drunkard. This is his proud identity. If you call him anything else, he will be unhappy. Old drunkard, this is Xiao. You can eat the dishes I cooked today, but it is all because of him." "Oh, really? Then I will toast you a few more glasses later," the old drunkard said with a smile. "Humph, I think you want to drink more." Wuxia saw through the old drunkard's plan at a glance. Xia Changqing thought about it for a while and figured out the identity of this person. Although this old drunkard looked unreliable, like a beggar from the beggar's sect, and was addicted to alcohol, his martial arts skills were not inferior to Wuxia. Otherwise the two would not have become friends. Especially his drunken fist and drunken stick. When he was drunk, his moves were amazing, like an antelope hanging its horns, leaving no trace. "Senior drunkard, it feels like we have known each other for a long time to see you today. I don't know why, but we must drink a few more glasses later." Xia Changqing wanted to try and see if he could learn the drunken stick from the old drunkard. Gu Yuxian, who happened to be carrying the wine jar, heard this. He glared at Xia Changqing with contempt, and at the same time, sighed in his heart, wondering when he could say such shameless words like Xia Changqing without changing his expression. After the wine came, the atmosphere became even more heated. The old drunkard took the wine jar from Gu Yuxian's hand, and couldn't wait to fill everyone's bowl. Then he picked up the wine bowl in front of him and said, "I'll drink first." Before he finished speaking, he drank the wine in the bowl. After putting down the bowl, he breathed a sigh of relief. With the old drunkard adjusting the atmosphere in the middle, the banquet was very interesting from the beginning. After 3 bowls of wine, the old drunkard started to play finger guessing with Wuxiazi. When he learned that Xia Changqing didn't know how to play finger guessing, his eyes immediately lit up. He pulled Xia Changqing and taught him how to play finger guessing, as if he had found a new toy. Xia Changqing didn't know whether it was because finger guessing could increase the friendliness of the old drunkard. He just felt that the old drunkard's attitude towards him was getting closer and closer. It could also be because Xia Changqing took the initiative to accompany him to drink. In any case, this was a scene that Xia Changqing was willing to see. Maybe after the favorability was high, he really had the opportunity to learn the drunk stick and drunken boxing from the old drunkard. Chapter 220, Become a Disciple. After drinking and appreciating the moon, Xia Changqing went to visit Guan Wei. Young escort leader Guan was lying on the bed in a miserable state, staring at the ceiling with lifeless eyes, his face pale, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. Xia Changqing, who pushed the door open and saw this scene, burst out laughing on the spot. Hearing the laughter, Guan Wei immediately turned his head to look at the door, his eyes full of resentment. "I'm already so miserable, and you're still laughing at me. Do you have a conscience? I'm so miserable." Guan Wei hesitantly called out. "That's enough. You're also poisoned, but you're well now. Dan Fang Weiming is much worse than you." Xia Changqing curled his lips and said speechlessly. What he said was indeed true. Dan Fang Weiming had no resistance to the poison, because he had no martial arts skills. Although Wuxiazi detoxified him in time, Dan Fang Weiming was really tortured. "Oh, this is really an unexpected disaster." Guan Wei sighed. Then he looked at Xia Changqing worriedly. "Have you told my father about this?" "Of course I have to tell your father, otherwise you are going to disappear for no reason." Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei's expression and immediately understood what he was thinking. "Are you really going to hide it from your father? This kind of thing can't be hidden at all." "Okay. As long as he asks, he will know what happened to you." Xia Changqing said unhappily. "I explained everything to your father. I told him that you are fine. You just need to rest for 2 days. And he has no intention of avenging you." "Ah." Guan Wei sat up from the bed and looked at Xia Changqing in surprise. "Doesn't my father care about me at all? This matter is actually over so lightly? So what do you want? Let your father take the people of Changhang Escort Agency to fight against Qianlang sect?" Xia Changqing said unhappily. "I don't mean to belittle our Changhang Escort Agency. Let's talk about the facts. All the people of Changhang Escort Agency combined may not be the opponent of Zuan Mengzi alone, not to mention that he has the giant Qianlang sect behind him." "That's right." Guan Wei instantly became dejected. He lay back on the bed, without any spirit. "If I were like you, with such profound martial arts, I wouldn't have to be afraid of Qianlang sect." Guan Shao escort head thought about it one by one. He suddenly sat up from the bed and looked at Xia Changqing, who was drinking tea with a sharp look in his eyes. "Changqing, please teach me martial arts. Even if I want to worship you as my master, it's okay." Puff. Xia Changqing almost spit out all the tea. His ability to fight against Zuan Mengzi is not based on simple martial arts. Physical fitness and magic power play a key role. Even if he wants to teach, Guan Wei can't learn. Instead of thinking about becoming my disciple, you might as well think about becoming Wuxia's disciple. Unexpectedly, Xia Changqing just said it unintentionally, but Guan Wei heard it in his heart. He looked thoughtful, muttered to himself, and ignored Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing shook his head helplessly, drank the tea in his hand, turned around and left Guan Wei's room. Afterwards, Xia Changqing did not favor one over the other. He went to Dan Fang Weiming's room to take a look. Dan Fang Weiming was much worse than Guan Wei. After seeing Xia Changqing come in, he struggled to get up, but he didn't even have the strength to sit up from the bed. Cough cough. A violent cough sounded, and Xia Changqing hurriedly took 2 quick steps and pressed him down on the bed. The poison Zuan Mengzi used was very strong, which was evident. This was because Zuan Mengzi did not use a poison that would kill people instantly. Otherwise Guan Wei would not have been able to resist to Xiaoyao Valley, and Dongfang Weiming would definitely die on the spot. But whether Dongfang Weiming will be blessed in disguise or suffer from more misfortunes depends on himself. Xia Changqing gave Dongfang Weiming a few subtle reminders, mentioning the status of Xiaoyao Valley and Wuxiazi in the martial arts world. If he could become Wuxiazi's disciple, he would definitely become a great hero in the future. From Dongfang Weiming's eyes, Xia Changqing could see that he was already tempted, but whether he could grasp this opportunity depended on Dongfang Weiming himself. Wuxiazi's medical skills were indeed very powerful. In just 3 or 5 days, Guan Wei was able to walk, while Dongfang Weiming needed a little longer. However, after half a month, Dongfang Weiming still got better. After the toxins in the bodies of the 2 people were expelled, Wuxiazi began to issue an order to expel them. There is a reason why Xiaoyao Valley has few people. As the head of the sect, Wuxiazi likes quietness. When there are too many people in the valley, he feels uncomfortable. Besides, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming had no relatives or friends with him. The 2 were poisoned because of Gu Yuxun, so Wuxiazi could do his best to remove the poison for them. But now that the 2 have recovered, there is no reason for them to stay in Xiaoyao Valley. I don't know if it was because of Xia Changqing's advice. At the entrance of the valley, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming knelt down on the ground at the same time and kowtowed to Wuxiazi. Guan Wei, senior Wuxiazi, please accept me as your disciple. I kowtow to you. Before he finished speaking, Guan Wei kowtowed. Not only were the others caught off guard, but Dongfang Weiming was the most surprised. He didn't expect Guan Wei to take the lead and become Wuxiazi's disciple. If Wuxiazi only recruited 1 disciple, wouldn't he be ahead of him? So Dongfang Weiming kowtowed to Wuxiazi. Senior, please accept me as your disciple. This, Wuxiazi didn't expect that these 2 people would want to worship him as their master. Wuxiazi, who was stroking his beard, showed a hint of hesitation on his face. However, no one knew that he was already very happy and proud in his heart. But Wuxiazi didn't show it on his face. He wanted to maintain his dignity. How could he let these young people see that something was wrong? Looking at Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming who were kneeling in front of him and couldn't get up, Wuxiazi pondered for a moment and said faintly, if you want to worship me, you have to pass my test. Please ask the question, senior. Guan Wei said directly, looking confident. But Dongfang Weiming had a hint of hesitation on his face. He was born in an ordinary family and had not received the same education as Guan Wei. He was worried about whether he could pass the test and be introduced. Okay, since you are so confident, then I will test you. You can choose any one of the following to answer the question. When you become my disciple, your martial arts skills are secondary. You must not abandon the skills of music, chess, calligraphy and painting. Having said that, Wuxiazi looked at Xia Changqing meaningfully. Chapter 221 Assessment. Xia Changqing was confused. He didn't know what the old man Wuxiazi meant. Could it be that the old man had taken a fancy to him? It was just that Xia Changqing had no intention of worshipping Wuxiazi as his master, at least not now. But to be honest, Wuxiazi was indeed a very good teacher. He was knowledgeable and had rich experience in many aspects, and martial arts was only one aspect. If it really came to worshipping Wuxiazi as a master, it didn't seem to be a bad idea. Xia Changqing touched his chin and thought thoughtfully. Then he saw Gu Yuxun, the eldest disciple of Xiaoyao Valley, standing aside, with an indescribable smile. This made Xia Changqing shudder. If he became Wuxiazi's apprentice, wouldn't he have to call Gu Yuxun the funny senior brother? How terrible. This matter was really terrible. Xia Changqing immediately gave up the idea. But he didn't know that Wuxiazi didn't give up easily. Compared with Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming, Wuxiazi has a better impression of Xia Changqing. Thanks to Xia Changqing's approval of his cultivation of flowers, Wuxiazi wants to accept Xia Changqing as his apprentice. Whether it is Gu Yuxuan or Jingji, they are more interested in martial arts and have no interest in passing on his knowledge of piano, chess, calligraphy, painting, flowers, birds, insects and fish. This makes Wuxiazi urgently need an apprentice to pass on these skills. During this period of time, Xia Changqing is the best candidate that Wuxiazi thinks. But now it is not Xia Changqing's problem, but Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming. Although Wuxiazi is not willing to accept these two people as apprentices, he has to go through the motions and cannot just reject the two people. The test is a very good excuse. Whether it is Guan Wei or Dongfang Weiming, they all agreed and were willing to accept the test. Wuxiazi first looked at Guan Wei. Guan Wei, which test do you choose? Guan Wei, who was still kneeling on the ground, lowered his head and rolled his eyes. To be honest, Guan Changhan was not an elegant person. Guan Wei had never learned these skills since he was a child. At most, his martial arts skills were acceptable at this age. It was a pity that Wuxiazi did not test martial arts. Senior, I choose a test about chess. Guan Wei gritted his teeth and chose the aspect of chess that he was familiar with. Wuxiazi pondered. Chess is divided into chess and go. Which one are you familiar with? Junior is familiar with chess. Guan Wei replied. Okay, then I will test you in chess. You all follow me into the valley. Wuxiazi called out. Since it was a test, of course it couldn't be carried out at the entrance of the valley. Zuana, take them to my chess room first. Yes, master. Gu Yuxuan replied respectfully. As he finished speaking, Wuxiazi waved his sleeves and floated away, like a banished immortal. Seeing his master leaving, Gu Yuxuan became excited. You two should get up quickly. Since the master is willing to give you a chance, it means that you have hope. You must perform well later. Maybe we will be brothers in the same sect in the future. The reason why Gu Yuxuan was so excited was that he was too lonely in Xiaoyao Valley. Although Wuxiazi had another apprentice, Jingji was too utilitarian, which was different from Gu Yuxuan's indifferent temperament, so the two did not get along very well. Gu Yuxuan really hoped to have another little apprentice brother who could accompany him to talk in Xiaoyao Valley. Guan Wei was a smart person. He got up from the ground, smiled and came to Gu Yuxuan, calling him senior brother. Big brother, I will ask you to say a few good words in front of the master later. This word big brother was quite useful to Gu Yuxuan. Okay, I hope we can have a chance to learn from each other. Gu Yuxuan led the way, taking the three people to Wuxiazi's chess room. When the four people arrived at the chess room, Wuxiazi had been waiting for a long time, and a chessboard was already set in front of him. Please take a seat. After noticing the four people coming, Wuxiazi greeted them. Guan Wei's expression was slightly hesitant. He came to Wuxiazi and sat down. His lips moved a little, as if he wanted to say something. Wuxiazi sat cross-legged calmly, without even raising his eyelids. Ask any questions you have. Although you want to be my disciple, once you become my disciple, it's a lifelong thing. This is a matter of mutual consent. I don't want to accept a disciple who doesn't share my heart. Senior, my doubt is not this, but I think my own chess skills are definitely not your opponent. If I beat you in chess in your test, I will definitely not succeed. Wuxiazi looked up at Guan Wei in front of him and felt unhappy. If he didn't have confidence, how could he beat him in chess? Wuxiazi didn't require Guan Wei to beat him in chess. As long as he could satisfy him, Wuxiazi didn't mind accepting him as a disciple. You can do whatever you want. I have my own judgment. Wuxiazi said lightly. In fact, he didn't say his own standards for accepting disciples. Although comprehension and physique are important, character is also a part that Wuxiazi has to consider. Xuanming's betrayal of Xiaoyao Valley made Wuxiazi very sad and alert, so he should be more cautious in choosing disciples. You hold the red letter first. Wuxiazi extended his hand, signaling Guan Wei to start. Guan Wei frowned. The first move is very important. Whether he focuses on attack or defense, he can arrange it faster. What made Guan Wei hesitate was whether Wuxiazi wanted to see him attack or defend. So although it was only the first step, Guan Wei hesitated for a long time. Time passed by. Wuxiazi was not in a hurry, sitting upright on the futon, unmoved. Xia Changqing and the other two stood aside, watching Guan Wen's face changing constantly. He did not take the first step for a long time, but in a moment, sweat had already seeped out of his forehead. Among the people present, not only Guan Wei was anxious, but Dongfang Weiming also had sweat on his forehead. Guan Wei was worried about how to take the first step, while Dongfang Weiming was anxious about which test to choose. But none of the tests were his forte. When Dongfang Weiming thought of this, he couldn't help but feel a little dejected. Did he lose the chance to change his fate just like that? Dongfang Weiming thought with some frustration. A moment later, before Guan Wei took the first step, Dongfang Weiming was already sweating profusely. Brother Xia, if it were you, what would you do first? Suddenly, when the situation was at a stalemate, Gu Yuxuan suddenly asked. Chapter 222 Assessment, Part 2. Xia Changqing looked at Gu Yuxuan in surprise. He only thought about it for a moment, and immediately understood the intention of Gu Yuxuan's move. Guan Wen's request just now still worked. Gu Yuxuan's words at this time were obviously instructing Guan Wei. After just a little thought, Xia Changqing decided to cooperate with Gu Yuxuan. Follow your heart. According to my idea, of course it is to attack. There is a saying that the best defense is to attack. With my personality, I'm not used to passive defense. As soon as Xia Changqing finished speaking, Guan Wei seemed to have a clue. He made up his mind, put his finger on the red soldier, and started the rhythm of attacking. Guan Wei finally figured it out. Passive defense is not his personality. After all, he is used to attacking first. Seeing this scene, Wuxia's mouth curled up, and a barely detectable smile rose. As for the test of chess skills, in the final analysis, it is still connected to the mind. As long as the mind is suitable, no matter what kind of skills, they can be cultivated slowly. As Guan Wei finally took the first step, Wuxia followed closely behind, using cannons to attack soldiers, and launched his own offensive. The chess game finally began to unfold. Gu Yuxuan, who had completed his task, smiled secretly, and at the same time, he couldn't help but look at Xia Changqing. He was more and more satisfied with Xia Changqing's performance. The two sides had a tacit understanding. He just mentioned the beginning, and Xia Changqing understood what he meant. How great it would be if Xia Changqing could become his junior brother. Gu Yuxuan couldn't help but think for a while. It's a pity that looking at Xia Changqing's appearance, he didn't seem to have the idea of worshipping Xia Valley, which made Gu Yuxuan a little melancholy. Not to mention Gu Yuxuan's random thoughts. The chess game on the field was proceeding quickly. After 10 moves, Guan Wei's chess speed began to slow down significantly, and he had to think for a long time for each move. Wuxia still didn't think about it, and every move was just right, which made Guan Wei very uncomfortable. After 20 rounds, Guan Wei's chess pieces had been eaten up, leaving only a few. His expression was extremely depressed, and he finally couldn't stand the pressure and surrendered. "Senior, I surrender," Guan Wei said dejectedly. Wuxia stroked his beard and chuckled. "It's a good thing for young people to be enterprising, but you have to consider the consequences of everything, and think twice before you act." Guan Wei's eyes lit up, knowing that this was Wuxia's warning to him. "Master, have you agreed to accept me as your apprentice?" Guan Wei said excitedly. Wait. Wuxia raised his hand to stop him. "I didn't say I would accept you as my apprentice. You should step down first. After the test is over, I will tell you the result." "Ah!" Guan Wei shouted in disappointment, but he didn't dare to disobey Wuxia's order, for fear of making Wuxia unhappy, so he could only stand up obediently and step aside. "Don't worry, you have performed very well. Even if the master decides not to accept you as a disciple, the door of Xia Valley is open to you. You can come to Xia Valley as a guest at any time." After Guan Wei stood beside Gu Yuxuan couldn't help but pat his shoulder and said comfortingly, "Gu Yuxuan is indeed a kind-hearted person, who can perfectly play the role of a senior brother." Ahem. Wuxia couldn't help coughing. It's not 1 or 2 days that his own apprentice has been ruining the show. Gu Yuxuan's personality is like this. Wuxia really has no way to deal with it. "Zuana, don't make a fuss. Who is the next one who wants to be tested?" Wuxia asked knowingly. His eyes seemed to look at Xia Changqing, and the expectation in it was self-evident. Senior, Dan Weiming said hesitantly. When the time came, he became more nervous, and the sweat on his forehead could not stop flowing down. What do you want to do? Wuxia said indifferently. He was unhappy in his heart. He had already relaxed the scope of the test and let them choose the topic by themselves. If they were still not satisfied, then Xia Valley would really not welcome him. Dan Weiming was indeed nervous. He had not received an orthodox education, and he was not familiar with the skills of playing the piano, chess, calligraphy, painting, flowers, birds, insects and fish. Various thoughts in his mind turned rapidly, and Dan Weiming finally sighed and bowed to Wuxia. Senior, to tell you the truth, I don't know these skills, and I'm destined to fail the test, Dan Weiming said truthfully. What he didn't expect was that Wuxia nodded slowly. Knowing what you know and not knowing what you don't know is knowledge. The young man is teachable. Dan Weiming, who had never read the Analects, was confused and didn't know what Wuxia meant. But Wuxia's satisfied attitude was obvious, and anyone with eyes could see it. Gu Yuxun, who was extremely perceptive, immediately came to Wuxia's side. Master, are you satisfied with these two? Actually, I don't mind having two more junior brothers. Wuxia glared at Gu Yuxun and said unhappily, it's not easy for Xia Valley to accept disciples. Are there any other people who plan to become my disciples? Wuxia looked at Xia Changqing meaningfully. It's no wonder that Wuxia is so eager to accept Xia Changqing as his disciple. If a sect wants to develop for a long time, the master is important, but the inheritance of the disciples is more important. Disciples are the future of a sect. Wuxia is already old. Although he has high martial arts skills, a person's lifespan is fixed. Even if he has the skills to keep his youth, when he reaches the age, he will return to dust and earth. After all, this is not a world of immortals. Even if you are a scholar, you can't break the shackles of heaven and man. This is a matter restricted by the rules of this world. Therefore, the next generation of a sect is very important. For Wuxia, whether it is Gu Yuxun or Jingji, the martial arts of the two are almost able to stand alone in the night shift in the world. Of course, these two people are not keen on skills other than martial arts, which is why Wuxia is eager to have a new apprentice, to pass on his other knowledge. Although Guan Wei and Dan Weiming's temperaments satisfy him, their comprehension is obviously not good, far worse than Xia Changqing. As an apprentice, being able to read the master's words and expressions, and know what the master is thinking, is also a necessary skill. After a series of observations, Gu Yuxun was able to perceive what his master was thinking. So Gu Yuxun looked at Xia Changqing. Brother Xia, I don't know yet, what school or sect are you from, and who is your master? Xia Changqing laughed in his heart. This Gu Yuxun is really suitable to be the eldest brother. Chapter 223 Assessment, Part 3. Brother Gu, you don't need to test me. I come from the countryside, and my master doesn't have any name. Xia Changqing said lightly, still using the same old excuse, which worked for him every time. Gu Yuxun immediately became excited. In this case, I believe your master doesn't mind you becoming his disciple again. Now that such a good opportunity is in front of you, don't you feel tempted? Or do you look down on our Xia Valley? Brother Gu, you don't need to provoke me. Senior Wuxia is very famous in the world. I don't know how many young people want to become his disciple. Xia Changqing clasped his fists, and his words were full of praise for Wuxia. Wuxia smiled reservedly, and secretly gave Gu Yuxun a look, indicating him to continue. That's it, Brother Xia, don't you want to become my master's disciple? Then you and I will be brothers. Gu Yuxun continued to persuade Xia Changqing. He received the message from Wuxia and wanted Xia Changqing to become his disciple. Little did they know that Guan Wei and Dan Weiming were like lemons, and they were already so sour. They had to accept tests to become disciples, and now the tests were over, and senior Wuxia had not made a clear statement whether he would accept them as disciples. As for Xia Changqing, they all saw what kind of attitude Wuxia had, and he was not interested in eating lemons. But no one knew, and Xia Changqing smiled bitterly in his heart. The matter of becoming a disciple required mutual consent, and now looking at Wuxia's attitude, it was clear that he was the only disciple he would not accept. Xia Changqing had a feeling that, if he did not agree, Wuxia would definitely not accept Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming as disciples. To be a disciple is what all young people dream of. I'm no exception. I just don't know if you mind if I bring my skills with me. Wuxia smiled proudly. Bring your skills with you? You seem very confident, right? Since you also want to be my disciple, you have to accept my test like the other two. A trace of confusion flashed across Xia Changqing's face. It's true that people get more and more evil as they get older. This shameless old man said it in a high-sounding way. Xia Changqing sighed, stood in front of Wuxia, bowed and said, I don't know what aspect of me the senior intends to test. There was no way. If he said he didn't want to be a disciple now, wouldn't it be clear that he didn't give Wuxia face? This shameless old man was a grudge-bearing person. If he offended him in Xiaoyao Valley, would the shameless old man keep him in Xiaoyao Valley? Xia Changqing thought about Wuxia's personality and came to the conclusion that this was possible. Wuxia was indifferent, as if Xia Changqing had taken the initiative to ask him. It's up to you to choose between chess, calligraphy and painting. Xia Changqing also gritted his teeth and stopped being polite. Senior, just ask any questions. I will accept any test. Oh. Wuxia looked at Xia Changqing in surprise, with a gleam in his eyes. Since you are so confident, then I will ask any questions. In this case, then I will test your chess skills first. Okay. Xia Changqing agreed, and sat in the position where Guan Wei had just sat. After the chessboard was rearranged, Wuxia stretched out his hand. You hold the red piece first. Just like when he tested Guan Wei, Wuxia gave up the first move. Xia Changqing was not polite to Wuxia, and he did not think too much like Guan Wei. He directly pushed the chess piece with his right hand, just like the immortal pointing the way. Interesting. Wuxia stroked his beard and smiled, which was exactly the same countermeasure as when he played against Guan Wei. The two of them went back and forth, and after 3 rounds, Xia Changqing and Guan Wei had different ways of moving. Chess matches are ever changing. The person who plays chess must have the ability to plan 3 steps ahead. Guan Wei stood beside Xia Changqing and watched in fascination. Xia Changqing's ideas for playing chess at the beginning were exactly the same as his, but when it came to the key step, Xia Changqing began to make changes. It turns out that this move should be made like this. Guan Wei looked at Xia Changqing's chess steps and couldn't help but think that, when he was in the game, he couldn't see clearly at all. Now standing next to Xia Changqing, he has realized that his loss is not unfair. It's just that, although Xia Changqing's chess skills are far better than Guan Wei, compared with the cunning Wuxia, he still needs to practice for a while. The two sides fought to the end. Xia Changqing only had the old general, while Wuxia still had a chariot and a horse to charge. Wuxia ruthlessly ate up all of Xia Changqing's chess pieces, and the red side was already powerless to turn the tide. Xia Changqing resigned. Wuxia laughed happily. Not bad, not bad. Changqing, you already have 70% of my skills. As long as you study hard for a while, you can definitely catch up with me. Even if you surpass my level, there is hope. Wuxia looked at Xia Changqing with encouraging eyes. How about this? Let's play another game. If it's just one game, we may not be able to see how strong you are. Xia Changqing stood up from the mat and stood with his hands in his hands. Senior, the chess skills have been tested. Do you want to test other aspects? Oh. Why are you in such a hurry? Let's play another game first. Wuxia waved his hand indifferently, signaling Xia Changqing to sit down quickly, and the two sides played another game. Xia Changqing felt helpless. Wuxia didn't look like he wanted to take in a disciple. It was obvious that he wanted to find a chess friend. Senior, don't say more. Let's play another game. As for other skills, I don't think it's necessary to test them again. Xia Changqing was about to speak when he was interrupted by Wuxia. He took the initiative to rearrange the chess pieces on the board and waved to Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing, who was originally standing, suddenly felt an invisible force acting on both sides of his shoulders, pressing him to sit down. Xia Changqing looked at Wuxiazi in surprise. He was sure that the source of this power was Wuxiazi. When the internal strength reaches a certain level, it can really achieve the effect of externalization. This is the first time that Xia Changqing has felt the ability of a person with deep internal strength. He sat down because he had tried it before. The more he resisted this force, the stronger the pressure on his shoulders became. Looking at Wuxiazi again, the old man still had a smiling look, as if the tricks on Xia Changqing were not from his hands. Then let's play another game. Xia Changqing agreed, and his expression became serious for the first time. When Xia Changqing made his next move, it was obvious that he spent more time thinking. Since he couldn't win by making one move that counted as 3, then he would make one move that counted as 5 or 6. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Become a Disciple. It is said that a chess game is like life, and the chess field is a battlefield. Now Xia Changqing has transformed into a general who has never been defeated in 100 battles, commanding his subordinates to charge and kill people everywhere. Wuxiazi was not moved at all, and his momentum was as stable as Mount Tay. Although his offensive momentum was insufficient, his defensive momentum did not leave any flaws. Xia Changqing thought carefully and wanted to break through Wuxiazi's defense line, but he would always be taken advantage of by him to counterattack. The two sides played a game of chess for half an hour, and in the end the chessboard was a mess, and both sides were no longer able to fight. The room had no choice but to end in a draw, but Wuxiazi was quite happy about it. It is certainly a pleasure to receive a good disciple, but it makes Wuxiazi even happier to get a chess friend of equal strength. Changqing, have you ever tried Go? How about a game between you and me? After the chess battle was over, Wuxiazi couldn't wait to switch to Go. Go is more difficult than chess. Wuxiazi has a hard time finding an opponent. He often sighs to the moon, saying that the feeling of being invincible is too lonely. Xia Changqing showed a difficult expression on his face. The rules of Go are simpler than those of chess, but it is even more difficult to master it. In this regard, Xia Changqing is not really good at it. Senior, I'm not very proficient in Go, so I will not accept your assessment. Xia Changqing refused directly. It was not something he was good at, so why should he find trouble for no reason? The feeling of being abused is not pleasant. It's a pity that Wuxiazi obviously misunderstood Xia Changqing's meaning. He thought it was Xia Changqing's humble words. Changqing, there is no need to be humble. Just stay in your position. If you are worried, I will give you a few pieces. Xia Changqing noticed Wuxiazi's expression and knew that he could not escape this. But even if Wuxiazi gave him 3 pieces, if he was not proficient, he was not proficient. Even if he forced it, he could not force it. Wuxiazi's face was getting darker and darker, almost catching up with the bottom of the pot in the kitchen. Wuxiazi originally thought that Xia Changqing's casual and nonchalant appearance was a deliberate plot, but in the end he finally understood that it was not Xia Changqing's intention, but his chess skills were really bad. Okay, this assessment ends here. Wuxiazi threw the chess piece in his hand back into the chess box, straightened his posture, and looked at the 3 people in front of him with a serious face. I'm Wuxiazi, the 4th generation leader of Xiao Valley. Do you 3 really want to worship me as your master? Xia Changqing and the other 2 knelt on the ground at the same time. We are sincere, and we hope that the master will accept us. Okay, today, the 3 of you will become my disciples, and must abide by the rules of my Xiao Valley. Practice diligently, cultivate your character, and not be brave and aggressive. Can you promise? Yes. The voices of the 3 people gathered together and answered loudly. Unexpectedly, Wuxiazi's temperament suddenly collapsed. You don't have to be so loud. Okay, kowtow. Xia Changqing and the other 2 looked at each other. Wuxiazi's temperament changed so suddenly that they were caught off guard. However, this was not the time to be stunned. The three of them bowed down in front of Wuxiazi one after another. Okay, we in Xiaoyao Valley don't have so many false formalities. Zuana, from now on, they are your junior brothers. You just need to explain the rules of our Xiaoyao Valley to them later. Now leave. Yes. Gu Yuxuan stood aside and bowed, but then he scratched his head. Master, I have 3 more junior brothers this time, but who is the 3rd junior brother? Who is the 4th junior brother? And who is the youngest junior brother? I hope Master will decide on their status. Well, this is something that must be done. Wuxiazi stroked his beard and thought for a while, and suddenly asked, let's shoot according to your age. Who is the oldest? Before Wuxiazi finished speaking, Xia Changqing said, Master, my age is much older than the 2 junior brothers. Very good, then let's do it this way. Wuxiazi waved his hand. Changqing is the eldest, Weiya is the 2nd, and Weiming is the youngest. He should be your youngest junior brother. Wuxiazi made the decision in one word. Guan Wei opened his mouth helplessly and looked at Xia Changqing with a somewhat sad and angry expression. That look clearly said that Xia Changqing was shameless. When they were in Changhang Escort Agency, it was clear that Guan Wei was older in terms of age, but how come now you are older? It's a pity that Guan Wei's grief and anger are no longer effective. As his master, Wuxiazi waved his sleeves and floated away. This position has been determined, and it is not something Guan Wei can change casually. Xia Changqing ignored Guan Wei's expression. He didn't expect that by chance he would actually worship Wuxiazi as his master. Or rather, Wuxiazi had already been determined to have him as his disciple. In fact, Xia Changqing was not very opposed to worshipping Wuxiazi as his master. Looking at the entire world, there are very few people who are qualified to be his master, and Wuxiazi is one of them. Xia Changqing felt that he could learn a lot of useful knowledge from Wuxiazi. As for accepting Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming at the same time, Xia Changqing could more or less guess some of Wuxiazi's thoughts. Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming were almost poisoned to death because of Zuan Mingzi, so Wuxiazi felt a little guilty. In addition, Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming were not the kind of people who could not be trained, so Wuxiazi took the opportunity to accept them as apprentices. Didn't you see that Anfang Weiming directly and frankly said that he was not proficient in any skills, but still passed the assessment? In Xia Changqing's view, the success or failure of this assessment depends entirely on Wuxiazi's thoughts. Humph, Changqing, you are really too despicable. I will never call you senior brother. Guan Wei was still a little resentful, and after Wuxiazi left, he said to Xia Changqing indignantly. At this time, Gu Yuxuan suddenly came to the side of the two and put his arm around Guan Wei's shoulders. 4th junior brother, when master left just now, he asked me to talk to you about the sect rules. One of the sect rules of our Xiaoyao Valley is to respect teachers and senior brothers. I'm the eldest senior brother, and you all have to respect me. Xia Changqing looked at the somewhat funny Gu Yuxuan and found it difficult to feel any respect for him. Moreover, although his age was far less than that of the old senior Wuxiazi, he was much older than Gu Yuxuan. Therefore, it was absolutely impossible for him to recognize Gu Yuxuan as his senior brother. However, Guan Wei and Anfang Weiming did not dare to have such an idea. The two of them bowed respectfully to Gu Yuxuan and said, hello, eldest senior brother. Gu Yuxuan smiled immediately and cast his eyes on Xia Changqing. Chapter 225. Fists are the truth. Facing Gu Yuxuan's eyes, Xia Changqing grinned. His teeth were shining white. He raised his right hand and then clenched it into a fist. Yuxuan, I think the rules of our Xiaoyao Valley should be changed. As the saying goes, the master is the one who is more than capable. Of course, I can't call myself your teacher, but if I'm your senior brother, isn't it more than enough? When Xia Changqing said this, Gu Yuxuan, Guan Wei and the other two were all dumbfounded. Gu Yuxuan looked at Xia Changqing in surprise and pointed at him. You. After holding back for a long time, Gu Yuxuan couldn't say anything else. It was really that Xia Changqing's eyes and fists were too threatening. Anfang Weiming was simple-minded and had no dissatisfaction with the identity of a junior brother. In other words, being able to worship Wuxiazi as a teacher was enough to satisfy him. Guan Wei, who had been traveling around with his father, since he was a child, was suddenly enlightened and thought to himself, why didn't he think of this? Guan Xiao, the escort leader, who was eager to get promoted, had just thought of this before he extinguished it himself. Xia Changqing dared to do this because he was skilled and courageous and had martial arts that could beat Gu Yuxun. Guan Wei imagined it in his mind and was very frustrated to find that he might not be Gu Yuxun's opponent, let alone Xia Changqing. He just didn't know what kind of person the second brother he hadn't met was. Maybe the martial arts of the man named Thorn were mediocre. Would he be able to compete for the position of the third brother at that time? No one expected that Guan Wei had thought so much in such a short time. Xia Changqing's behavior, coupled with Gu Yuxun's failure, was like opening Pandora's box, which made Guan Wei inevitably think too much. Xia Changqing didn't know Guan Wei's little thoughts. After threatening Gu Yuxun, he planned to leave Xiaoyao Valley first. I still have some things to deal with in Luoyang City. After I finish dealing with the things in Luoyang City, I will come to learn from Master. After a pause, Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei strangely, who looked like he didn't know what he was thinking. What are you thinking about? Aren't you going back to the escort agency with me? The chief escort is still worried about you. Why don't you go back and report your safety? Ah, good. Guan Wei, who was awakened, looked at Xia Changqing with a guilty conscience. No one knew why he was guilty. Of course I have to go back. I haven't been back to the escort agency for such a long time. My father must be worried to death. Guan Wei said as a matter of course. Then let's go together. Xia Changqing shook his head, not knowing what Guan Wei was up to. Gu Yuxun did not stop Xia Changqing and Guan Wei from returning to Luoyang City, and he didn't even intend to tell Wuxiazi, the master. Generally speaking, Xiaoyao Valley is a very open-minded sect. As long as the disciples don't do something illegal, Wuxiazi won't control them too strictly. So in Gu Yuxun's view, it is a simple matter for the two to return to Luoyang City. They don't even need to settle down in Xiaoyao Valley, but if they want to learn some martial arts, they still have to come to Xiaoyao Valley. Wuxiazi will not go to Luoyang City to teach them martial arts. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei returned to Luoyang City together. It has been almost a month since Guan Wei was poisoned. Seeing Luoyang City again made Guan Wei feel like he was in another world. I'm going back to the escort agency. What's wrong with you? Guan Wei said to Xia Changqing beside him. Standing at the fork in the road, Xia Changqing thought for a while and said to Guan Wei, I'll go to the escort agency with you first. Even if I have to live in Xiaoyao Valley in the future, I have to go to the chief escort Guan to make it clear. Then let's go together. Don't worry, my father is not the kind of unreasonable person. Guan Wei comforted. Even if it is put in the current company, a new employee who has not even passed the internship period wants to change jobs. Which boss can be happy? In fact, even if Guan Wei was not there, Xia Changqing did not care much, but he still had to explain it. After all, it was all about human relations. The two of them came to Changhang Escort Agency together. Seeing Guan Wei jumping around again, Chief Escort Guan pulled Guan Wei and looked at him non-stop, and tears almost flowed out. It is understandable that Guan Wei lost his mother at a young age and was raised by Guan Changhang alone. The relationship between the father and son is naturally very deep. Guan Wei said that he and Xia Changqing were both accepted as disciples by Wuxiazi, and Guan Changhang was overjoyed. How could he not be surprised? Wuxiazi was a top-ranked master in the martial arts world. It was a great joy for Guan Wei to become his disciple. Even if Guan Wei no longer inherited his father's business in the future, Guan Changhang had nothing to worry about. Okay, that's great. This time you are really blessed in disguise. As for the fact that Xia Changqing also became Wuxiazi's disciple, Guan Changhang's joy was not so great. However, Guan Changhang was also an old hand, so he naturally would not show his emotions on his face. He happily congratulated Xia Changqing and planned to hold a banquet to celebrate this matter. As for Xia Changqing's leaving Changhang Escort Agency and living in Xiaoyao Valley, Guan Changhang did not say a word and waved his hand and let him go. Xia Changqing declined Guan Changhang's request for a banquet and went to visit Feng Biao Tao again. After hearing that Xia Changqing became Wuxia's disciple, Feng Biaotao was shocked and shouted that he did not expect Xia Changqing to have such an opportunity. Although he was a little disappointed that Xia Changqing left Changhang Escort Agency, Xia Changqing had a better future after all, and Feng Biaotao had no reason to stop him. After saying goodbye to Feng Biaotao, Xia Changqing's affairs in Changhang Escort Agency came to an end. He had only been in Changhang Escort Agency for 2 months. At first, he learned from Feng Biaotao and then went on escort missions. He was not familiar with most people. There was no need to say goodbye to others. After leaving Changhang Escort Agency, Xia Changqing suddenly laughed out loud. He thought of when he just joined Changhang Escort Agency. One Changhang intended to entrust him with an important task. Except for escort leader Feng, the other 2 escort leaders were quite hostile to him. Thinking about it now, these things are indeed a bit funny. Xia Changqing walked on the streets of Luoyang. His next stop was Yi Keelman. The entanglement with Keeley also had to be resolved. Xia Changqing didn't want to waste Keeley's youth. To be honest, sometimes Xia Changqing himself felt that he was a cold-blooded person. He stood at the door of Yi Keelman with an expressionless face. The father and daughter of the Qi family were not in the Yi Keelman. Xia Changqing didn't think much about it, knowing that the 2 must have gone to perform on the street again. Then Xia Changqing turned around and walked towards the place in his memory. If it was as he expected, the father and daughter of the Qi family should be there. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.